to the bigger picture, everyone. And this is like a first. We actually had like a 2 months delay. We talked about it last time with Sid, that we didn't do any shows because we were too busy doing other stuff. And then last week we did our first show since 2 months, and now our second show with Adam and Topher, first on Bitcoin. The bigger picture.
Welcome to Bitcoin Live.
Yeah, Bitcoin Live, the bigger picture.
That was a great show last week, guys. I enjoyed it. Good job putting it together, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, it's with my co-host. I can't do it by myself.
Of course, yes. But yeah, I mean, it was super interesting, especially the way you showed proof of Epstein and how you tied it into the hybrid thing. And they're probably what was I listening to the other day, and it reminded me of you because I can't remember what the show what it was. But I'm like, oh yeah, because he basically came out of nowhere, right? They couldn't even prove he had a high school degree, and so it got me thinking, like, was this guy seriously like a real hybrid then? Because they do have them walking among us, right? And there's lots of evidence of that. So he might have been just one of those. And that's why he was. It's just weird because they gave him everything, and Lex Wexner gave his entire estate to the guy. Very bizarre, right? He literally just walked in.
Yeah.
It seems like Epstein got blackmail on him really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course, Epstein is not the only one, right? There's multiple child trafficking organizations.
Oh, yeah, yes.
I've got the name of the guy who actually first came out with the Epstein files. I think it was called the Black Book or something. Mm-hmm. And he was like a gutter detective who sort of, came onto Epstein. But basically, when you see his interview with Ironclad, I think it was Ironclad, they go through the fact that most Democrats are connected to Epstein, but there's like where it's more focused on girls. But there's other bigger child trafficking networks out there that are more focused on young boys, and those are closely connected to Republicans. So there's actually multiple child trafficking organizations of various sizes.
Right.
Yeah. Tucker had a guest on that said that, he said all the Republicans, because they're all gay.
Yeah, apparently. But who knows? Maybe Trump isn't.
No, I don't think Trump is. Yeah, Trump likes the girls for sure. Probably too young. But yeah, I mean, look at Lindsey Graham. He's just an example. Not married, just has a lust for blood and war. Very dangerous personality to have power.
Yeah, I think power these days attracts psychopaths anyway, right? I think so.
Yeah, but this week, I think Ro Khanna was on Sean Ryan's show, and it was all about Epstein. I think everyone must watch that one, because in that Sean Ryan was like very emotional, and then a lot of things came out of that. That Donald Trump said to Pam Bondi, or FBI director, that I'm not gonna do that because it will hurt my friends.
Right.
This is like actual words of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he told that to MTG as well when he called her.
Oh yeah, he told to MTG. Yeah, I was missing it. Yeah, MTG, that I'm not gonna release it because it's gonna hurt my friend. I don't think it's gonna hurt his friend. I think it's gonna hurt him. He is involved in that. Elon Musk said that Donald Trump is in these files. Yeah,
and this is really funny, right? Because we're not even 5 minutes into the show and we're already talking about the Epstein files, right?
Because it's so intertwined, right, with power and different institutions, and even the UAP issue and breakthrough energy.
Yeah, because Epstein was very clearly connected to the anti-gravity and zero-point energy field, right, of research.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Emirates now, right? There's some. I mean, of course, Saudi. These pictures are from the MBS, but there's someone in the Emirates. I forget his name. Some billionaire. That there's emails from, I think, the early 2000s or 90s. That they're doing business together. So he's been involved in that region, and of course with Israeli prime ministers as well. Like he was involved in getting many powerful figures together to work together.
Yeah, and I think that this basically was also his game, right? You want to have leverage over powerful people and then make them do your bidding, right? Either for yourself or for somebody else. But let's not go into that yet. we still have an entire show to fill. I think we should just start with the predictions and get out of the way, and then I think we'll just go into the Psyops. We'll just stick to the order of the title.
Okay. All right. Nice. We'll do.
Yeah,
so who's gonna, should I go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
go.
start with Adam.
All right. Now there's no this is not in order or anything. I did write these down. I think I predict this every year, by the way. So it's nothing. But here, let's go. So I think, and this is going to be related to what comes after, but there's going to be NHI disclosure by the White House this year. Because
just by saying it out loud, you just ensured it's not going to happen.
But wait, the excuse now, and this is we've been talking about it. We talked about this last week as well with Nick. Is that, and we've seen the actions, is that we are building an empire, right? And I think we need a new narrative, or the people are not going to get along with it. You know, the American people love the Constitution, we love our republic, and if we're becoming an overt empire, we just need a new story. And I think NHI is just perfect for that, you know. So that's why I think there's going to be NHI disclosure, not because they really care. However, once that is announced, then and Trump is losing. Trump is also losing the base, right? And he knows he can't win the midterms or the presidency. So if they're setting up an empire, do they really want like an AOC or a Newsom? You know what I mean? I think they need to lock this down and probably not have elections again. So I think it's going to be a declaration, probably of martial law, pause the elections until some emergency is over. You know, whatever the emergency is, I don't know what they're going to use for that matter.
War.
Maybe war is always the easy one, but it has to be something that the people won't fall for, right? There's always pushback now from whatever they try to do. So whatever the emergency is, I think they can't have the elections, and they don't want to have the elections, because if they do, all this work will be gone. They'll come in, they'll try to impeach him, they won't let him pass anything. So I think that's why that's there. And then new exotic technologies will be revealed, like from the black budget world. And because I'm seeing Trump is paying the contractors off by increasing the DoD budget, you know, from 1 trillion to 1.5 trillion. So he's basically paying them off to bring these technologies out. And if we are going to be an empire the way he wants it, with Greenland and, you know, this entire hemisphere, including South America, it looks like, they need new technologies that are just going to scare everyone into submission. So I think that's what the increase is. So those are my predictions. They're pretty connected, but NHI disclosure so we can have a new narrative for the empire, cancel elections and martial law, and then new technologies coming out.
God damn it, those were my predictions.
See, I knew that would happen.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, and mine as well. So
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap, guys.
Let's see if I can add something to that. or does somebody else want to go first?
Well, I'll go ahead and go because mine was pretty tight in, and believe me, Adam and I did not talk about this beforehand, so it's not like we're trading notes. But yeah, I was predicting the same thing. We'll see martial law in the United States, and it's probably going to be due to a big event. I was thinking more something along the lines of Waco, and maybe I'm just saying that just because we recently covered the time traveler, John Teeter, where he was his message from the future was that there was a Waco type event every week. But I mean, we're seeing the stuff going on in Minnesota. We're seeing how much Americans that are at each other's throats and are at authority, and so all it takes, is one big event to happen for Trump to declare martial law, and it's stepping stones, right? So you start with this big event. We're already talking about sending ICE door to door. It leads to a big event. All of a sudden you got martial law, and then you've got it spreads and gets wider and wider, right? It goes outside of Minnesota. I think there's going to be more intervention in Latin American countries, but overtly, like they did in Venezuela.
Yeah.
I don't foresee UFO disclosure or from the government, because that's not in their interest, unless it is, like Adam said, it's some sort of blue beam type event that's going to be used to manipulate people. So if they can find a way to use that to manipulate it to their advantage, I could see that happening.
I think what Adam means is like partial disclosure with a controlled narrative, right? Which
right
in favor.
Yeah,
plus,
but they would,
plus the release of special weapons and new weapon systems.
And my one last prediction that is a little bit off the walls, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think we'll finally start seeing what everyone keeps fearing is AI and robotics in simple workplaces, which will cause another, uproar from the working population that doesn't want to have this take their jobs.
Yeah.
So another point of contention for the American people.
Topher, to support your Waco event every single week, did you see what the Supreme Court just came out? Well, I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago.
No, I've been out of the loop for the last couple of days, as you know.
So there was a case in Montana where the police went into someone's home and shot him because the girlfriend said that she was worried about him or something like that. So they had no warrant, nothing like that. They went in and they shot the guy, right? So the lawsuit, the guy sued the government for doing that, for unlawful entry and no probable cause, all of that. So the Supreme Court actually said that basically killing the Fourth Amendment, that a police officer can just go into your home and it's not probable cause. I forgot the word they used, but if they fear if they fear for your safety. Can you imagine? So that's any excuse.
That is so American. I can't believe it. Help, my boyfriend's in distress. Let's get him, boys.
Yeah, and let's go kill him. Let's go shoot him. So that's scary because now there's precedent now for the government to do that. So that supports that prediction that you have, and it's extremely frightening.
Well, okay, let most of my predictions have already been taken. But I can be a little bit creative here, but what I can add to especially what Adam says, and you too, Topher. I mean, I think the Waco events are increasing, so that's definitely also the case. I think obviously Greenland is gonna succumb to American influence this year. I think there's in my mind there's no doubt about that. I think Cuba will descend into chaos and perhaps come into American orbit. I think Europe will have. I think Europe will go through a very difficult time, maybe even hyperinflation. Iran, I'm not sure.
That's the wild card, huh? Iran is a wild card because they keep trying, they keep failing.
Yeah,
the war is coming. That's one of my predictions, but I will say it when it's my turn. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there will continue to be proxy wars. Maybe Taiwan will finally happen, right? So I think it is more likely that the war in Ukraine will increase. I hope there will be peace, perhaps, but I think it's more likely that there will be more war, which would be really bad for Europe. And and of course the Middle East. I think, like I said, I think Iran will not quickly fall. Perhaps it won't even, it will likely not even fall. Right? It has never fallen in its entire history. Mm-hmm. It's an extremely stable country, despite all the chaos, and it's extremely difficult to take it. So you can only weaken it, I guess.
Right.
And I totally agree. I think more South American countries will come into orbit, into U.S. orbit, either voluntarily or like you said, like clandestine secret ops or bribes or deals. I think there won't be an outright invasion of some kind, but I think there will be immense pressure put on Latin America this year, and. Yeah, I think that's. Oh yeah, and of course, I do think something is going to happen in Egypt. I do am of the opinion that And I think that might sort of tie into what you said earlier about Trump and the NHI UFO connection, and how how the deep state might spin this in order to legitimize his reign. Because I do think, like I said in the previous show with you guys, I do think we're moving more towards a different political system, and it will have more characteristics of an empire than a republic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And his son is called Baron, right? For crying out
Yeah.
loud.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, those books, right, from the 1800s.
Yeah. Baron Trump. Yep.
Exactly, Baron Trump. Which those are. I mean, when I first saw that, I'm like, that's insane. That someone could be that
To be honest, he does have this regal look about him. He's tall. He has this sort of almost vampiric kind of look. So he would make an excellent emperor.
Emperor Baron Trump. I mean, yeah, because isn't that book called The Last President, or is that the book
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if we want to become an empire, we're gonna have to get rid of the presidency.
Well, okay. Because this was not one of my predictions, but because Sid, and I hope I'm not, destroying your prediction, but since you mentioned it before the show with Nostradamus and this potential assassination, which I wouldn't, we talked about it quite a few times since Trump took office. What if somebody actually does assassinate him, and his son takes over under martial law? That they sort of just throw everything out of the window.
I have a very different interpretation of that one.
Go.
I will tell. Yeah, because regarding this point, I don't think in the United States a son just can take over, especially the youngest one. If any son is gonna take it, it's going to be Don Jr., not Baron. But in United States, you have a constitution. It's going to be VP,
right?
And then the Congress, Pelosi, whoever, who is the House representative. So that's how it's gonna work in US. I don't think a son just can take over.
Unless they change the continuity of government, which I don't see them doing. I mean, we do have a we do have a COG plan that's been worked on for decades.
I mean, aren't we kind of past the point of the White House can or can't do this?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Exactly. He could if he wants. He could do an executive order saying that he's changing continuity of government from the president to my son. And then
I mean, basically what we're seeing right now with the ICE is a coup, right? The coup was already happening, but it's sort of speeding up and it's becoming more apparent. It's a coup from the inside.
Yeah, I think Independence Day movie, that's how it happened, right? The daughter of the president took over. No, not in Mars Attack.
Oh yeah.
The movie Mars Attack. After the president died, his daughter took over the country.
That's right.
Or she was like one of those main representative of the government. So that's like good possible, right?
Okay, Sid, go.
Okay, let's start with war.
Yeah.
So the predictions about war. Ukraine war will intensify. US versus Europe in Greenland. This is happening this year. That's my prediction. And it will destroy NATO. NATO won't be there. This is the last year of NATO. Yeah. Iran war coming. And the reason for that is all the carriers are moving towards Iran. This piece is just fake because Arabs told Trump that he cannot use their land, so he's bringing all the aircraft carrier to start full-scale war. It's not going to be easy, like simple bombing like last time, like 12-day war. It's going to be full-fledged war, and it's going to be devastating for everyone.
Yeah.
And the assassination, I think, is going to be Khamenei. Khamenei will be assassinated.
Damn,
in this
dude,
war.
that won't be that's not a joke, huh? Isn't that like taking out? Isn't that like taking out the Pope?
Exactly, and this will start the holy war. Even though he's not like Pope, like the only one, but that will trigger everyone because you cannot just go and assassinate that. That will start the end times. If by the way, this is like Nostradamus prediction, big assassination. This is like a Islamic prediction as well. Like one of the very holy figure will be assassinated that will trigger the black flags.
Oh, so then they
in
will do it.
Khorasan.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. So because the only pattern I've noticed is that whatever is in prophecy, they do it.
Yeah, this is a prophecy that being like, I'm not saying like good guy or bad guy, but like he is a holy figure as well, apart from being a
Right.
religion, like a country leader.
Mhm.
So that will trigger. And the thing about Iranian is, no matter how, don't look at the propaganda from diaspora. By the way, I hate every religious figure. But what I'm saying, the people of Iran, when their leader, no matter how bad he is, will get assassinated, they will revolt and they will like support their whoever the next leader is.
So
So that's like a very bad idea.
remind us of the black flags again. What's that?
So this is like the biggest prophecy that the black flags will rise from Khorasan, which is part of Iran
Mhm.
and part of Afghanistan in the end time.
And
And they will
yeah, what
they've so the prediction is like after a big catastrophe the people will rise from there and they will march toward Jerusalem. They will conquer and they will never stop until that happens. Oh, by the way, this prediction came before Jerusalem was a thing. It was because Jerusalem was conquered by Umar, and this Umar was like the second caliph,
Mhm.
and the prediction was before Muslims even thought about Jerusalem.
right.
So it was like very weird to predict about this time when the fight is about Jerusalem.
So
And then they said the capital. They said the capital of that city, which is Jerusalem, or like it's not Jerusalem because they said the word was like more related to what is modern day Tel Aviv.
Interesting.
So that's like a nuclear war, basically.
So this will start that.
Yeah, because I mean, if they are going to go marching to Jerusalem, the Israelis are just going to nuke everything. I mean, it's in their policy, right?
Samsonov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the biggest thing is about this prediction is not like this is the prediction. The prediction is also a commandment to all the Muslims. When you see the black flags marching from Khorasan to Jerusalem, it's your religious duty to go and join that
Because it's the end of times.
army. Yeah. Yeah. And like if you don't do, you want like you're out of the main like religion. So people talk about like nuclear weapon is like the most dangerous weapon for Iran. No, this prophecy is if they raise the black flag, all the Muslims are obligated to join.
And that would
And then
tie into your blue beams prediction.
exactly.
So okay,
So yeah, this is why I'm very worried about this whole thing.
let's go there with the. Do you want to go first to Nostradamus or directly to blue beam?
No, but I'm not even done. I've just talked about the. So this is like just the war theory. Then the next one is going to be about alien disclosures. Real disclosure is not happening. There will be a big, significant war between the two groups. One who want to hide it, one who want to release it, but they might release a fake disclosure, might do a fake disclosure to cover for all the financial crisis which Adam was sharing. So after reading that news yesterday, I was like, okay, there is a possibility they do the fake disclosure.
Oh yeah, that central banker. Yeah, when central bankers talk,
Yes.
we should listen. Because they've done it before when they had their meetings, the central banker meetings, and they basically tell us what's going to happen that year. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, she's like she was an advisor to the Central Bank of England, the Bank of England, and she sort of says like, based on my research that I've done recently, I do think and the disclosures happening in America with those congressional hearings and all these high officials going on the record and the age of disclosure, etc., that she thinks it might be actually gonna happen. And that the Bank of England and other central banks should take appropriate action, because if they don't, she foresees panic on a sort of ontological level. People will be shaken and they will take their money out of the banking system and flee into Bitcoin, of all places. That's nice to hear. Because also she says, that was very interesting, she also makes a link in that article that she thinks that if aliens are revealed to be real, and then of course exotic tech is also revealed at the same time, because you can't have one without the other.
Correct.
Then it's the end of the era of gold and silver, because they will be immediately redundant and obsolete as monetary metals.
So she's
Yeah.
predicting that people will go into crypto.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. Maybe that's what they want
Yeah,
anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Which ties into my next prediction, which is collapse of dollar. Very much expecting that this year.
Crash of the dollar. Yeah. I did write down.
Well, not just dollar, like the financial system.
Yeah. I mean, they've been trying to.
It won't be
reset.
like revolutionary change, but there will be a big collapse.
I think Trump knows it, and he's trying to stop it with what he's doing. But I don't know. I don't know if he's making
I
things
think
worse.
he's trying to cause
Yeah,
it.
he's maybe making things worse. True.
Yeah, I think in his mind, I think he wants his coin, that world liberty coin, to replace world currency, that is dollar. I think this is his plan, but that's just my assumption.
Well, I think, sort of the Trump administration has a benefit by a weaker dollar, right? I mean, they're doing everything they can to make the dollar weaker because the entire globe needs a weaker dollar.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, they are heavily invested in Bitcoin and crypto. So even if the dollar goes down and something like Bitcoin goes up at the same time, it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
For them. That's why I think they are trying to cause it. Another prediction, we will see a lot of sky events. So a lot of the new things will appear in the sky.
Amen.
All right.
Looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But how can we tell if it's a human or an HI?
Well, we cannot. That's the blue beam, right? That's not even like my prediction or like my assumption. That's, I think, happening right now. We are in between blue beam.
Take me to
And
your
that's why
leader.
they're going to do a lot of those things. Yeah.
I'm sure Topher.
And like now we can see a lot of different videos coming out, like the lights are flying. I've seen so many videos like that on the sky, on the clouds. It's like something is flashing, like a lot of flashlights just moving in the sky.
Yeah, and
This is like a new trend.
and that has been going on for quite a while now, right? I mean, basically for over a year now. First with the New Jersey UFOs, and then now the UFO flap over Europe. So it has been continuing and increasing the amount of sightings. But also, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I find it impossible, like literally impossible, even if I spend 24 hours a day covering just UFOs to keep up with what's coming out. It's like insane the amount of stuff that's coming out.
It is. Yeah. I mean, Eric Davis, did you guys see the interview he did with the Soul?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm halfway.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean that him coming out with all that stuff is, I mean, it is still the same stories, right? But it's different when it goes into a deep conversation like that. Because what's the host name? Scat, I forget his name, but he pressed him. He did really well in the interview.
Yeah, he's co-founder of the Soul Foundation.
Yes,
and the Soul Foundation puts out like really great material. I think Colonel is actually one, maybe the founder of also a co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. But yeah, I totally agree, and I do want to play this little clip because it ties into the disclosure, or let's call it the fake disclosure or the halfway.
Yeah, exactly. Half-assed disclosure.
Back with him by phone, with former President Bush by phone. And just to be sure, when I say President Bush or former President Bush, I'm referring to the senior, not the junior, not W, but George Herbert Walker Bush, and GHWB. And so we had a series of phone calls where he would call me a lot, and he'd be in transit somewhere, and he would have some time to chat with me. And so we would probably have about 20, 30 minutes to chat, maybe even less several times. And I would cover a lot of the significant topics. Now, the points of focus here was his induction his confirmation as the new CIA director in the Ford administration. And so he's now the incoming CIA director, and he's now being officially briefed by his directorate chiefs. Those are the deputy director of the Directorate of Intelligence, Science and Technology, operations, this and that and the other thing. And so during one of his briefings, he meets with his DOD liaison officer. And his DOD liaison officer is a uniformed officer who was not identified to me, I don't know what rank the man was, but he's uniformed service. And he comes over from the Pentagon because he liaisons in his job serving the Secretary of Defense. And actually, back in those days, he would have been in Chris Mellon's old job. He would have been the Assistant Deputy Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. I think that's the title. But that was the number 3 man or number 3 position in all of the DOD's structure. So this guy worked for that individual, and his job is to liaison with the CIA director or any of his subordinates that he designates. So Bush is getting read in to get up to speed on everything. He's starting his new job at the CIA, and the liaison officer mistakenly thought that Bush had been read in on the UAP subject. And so he started blabbing off about the latest on that. And Bush said, no, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? And the liaison officer told him, I thought you had been briefed on this by your senior staff. And he said, no, actually, I haven't been briefed on that topic, if yet, or if at all, I have not. And so the liaison officer then had already let loose the information. So he went ahead and completed the rest of that briefing. And that's when Bush learned about a landing at an Air Force base in New Mexico by a UFO, humanoid type, non-human intelligence came off the craft and actually met with uniformed senior Air Force officers and some civilian CIA personnel. And
okay,
they went off.
And you're referring to an event that is often just called the Holloman landing.
The
Holloman Air Force Base in April of 1964.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, man. And the details about it. So it's weird that it's weird that liaison, the DOD liaison, thought that George Sr. was already briefed, and he's like, "Oh no, not yet." And then the guy continues.
Do you think it's a double blind? I mean, maybe this is like too many rabbit holes where they're just exposing the president to all of this fake stuff just to like get a weird, I don't know, message out there.
Well, he wasn't president yet. He was the director of CIA. His first day, he said, when he was first coming in. So that was director of CIA. When was that? 60s when he was.
Yeah, I think he was underneath Reagan.
He was vice president, but with Ford, he was CIA director, and then he became.
I think it was JFK after JFK around that time.
Yeah,
that's why we say that he was involved in JFK killing.
Yeah, he's been a long time. He's been in the high school.
So it was like around 60s.
Yeah, and there's that book. What's it? Oh man, something from Disclosure. He's in that book as well because they list people who are in the know. And that book came out in the 90s. So he's always been part of that.
But I think this is a very strange story, right? A very I mean, it's very unbelievable that, like you said, why the hell would he continue talking, and why the hell would he think that he's already read in when he isn't, right? I mean, this kind of stuff, they are super tight-lipped about this whole issue, right? So why would he just start blabbering about something like this if somebody is not read in? I just don't.
Maybe he thought that him being a Bush would be read in because they've been part of the power structure. It goes back to World War II, right? They funded his grandfather funded Hitler, was part of that bank. And they even got caught by the feds for some I think helping the Enemy Act or something like that. So maybe that's why he thought, because they're up there in not just the secret societies, but in banking as well. So they've always been part of that deep state structure, the Bushes. So maybe he just assumed that he would know.
But I don't think Eric Davis is like a bad guy. I think the interview is very interesting, and he reveals a lot of details because Eric Davis has been in the know for a very long time, and involved in almost every super secret effort, from ATIP to OLSEP to probably many other projects out there.
Yeah, the task force, NIDS as well.
NIDS, yeah, definitely.
NASA.
National Institute for Science and Discovery, the Aerial Advanced Weapons System Application Program, and
TRW as well. EG&G. I mean, yeah. So he's been around for a long time. Yeah.
But this one is, I think, also very interesting when we're talking about fake disclosure, because I think we're all on the same page there. This one from David Grush.
General Clapper, the former DNI in the documentary. I certainly applaud him for at least speaking out in general. He goes on, I believe, I've only seen clips of Age of Disclosure, not the whole thing, where there was a program when he was the Director of National Intelligence where they were tracking these vehicles over Area 51, of course, the famed classified test location. And I'm a little bit disappointed as a fellow Air Force officer, and certainly General Clapper rose to the ranks as 3-star general. That's all he said in the documentary, that was a program he was aware of. In fact, without being inappropriate, I will say that General Clapper was well aware of the crash retrieval issue, managed the crash retrieval issue, and when he was the DNI, USDI, and DIA director, he placed people in critical roles to manage this issue, both publicly and I'll just say non-publicly as well. And I'll allow the audience distill what I'm saying at the risk of being inappropriate or going too far with my discussion. So General Clapper, Stephanie O'Sullivan, other folks in the IC that are well aware of this issue, that were in rooms discussing this issue, I ask you to be greater leaders on this. I should not be the only former military officer and intelligence official that is being completely candid with the information that they were exposed to. So perhaps
once again, James Clapper.
Damn, Grush. It's funny. He's like, he doesn't want to be inappropriate, but he's still, saying Clapper knows way more than what he's saying.
Yeah, so my take is that they are using honest people, basically, who are trying to do their job as best as they can without, compromising national security and, staying true to their oath to the country and the people, whatever that means to them, right? I mean, I think also when you read the book of Louis Elizondo, my feeling for the guy as a person is not that he's a bad guy. He's just trying to the best of his abilities without breaking his oath and his secrecy, non-disclosure agreements, and betraying people like probably Christopher Mellon and others. These are just grunts, right? They're grunts, and they're being put forward, and they're being, they're pushing this disclosure or half-assed disclosure. And then at some point they will be sacrificed. I think they'll be left out to hang.
I have the total opposite reading of Louis Elizondo. I think he's nefarious. He's doing deliberately, and he's causing all this drama in the UFO community to discourage it. I think he's doing it on purpose, and he's more than a pawn. I think he's like a knight on the chess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not nefarious. I'm just saying that he thinks he's doing what is best for the country and for the people in the country.
Yeah, Nazi thought they were doing the right thing. That doesn't justify anything.
True.
Yeah, I mean, come on. The guy was torturing people in Guantanamo. So he does think he's doing the right thing. You're right, and but it's just flawed. His right thing, the right thing to do is just flawed when it comes through his perspective and his
his upbringing is very interesting because his father was like a Cuban resistance fighter. He fought with Fidel Castro before, and then he got tortured by Fidel Castro, and then he started sort of the opposition, and then he sort of raised his son, in weapons and all that kind of stuff. And he's sort of from a broken family. Yeah. And it's also very interesting because they do sort of, you again, also with Grush and also with Jake Barber, you see this sort of recruitment effort by the US Army for these kind of people. It's very interesting to see that play out over and over and over again in all these stories.
Yeah,
they seek out these individuals.
Right, and he rose in the ranks. If you're going to rise in the ranks in the government, especially the military, you listen to orders, right? You do what they tell you. You don't really question, even though he did, it was probably fake anyway. But when he retired or left the government to pursue this, it could have been just part of the whole op of counter intel. because they saw the narrative going out. They're like, well, we need to capture this narrative and bring it back over to the military.
Yeah. And then you
but he's done great work. He's done great work. The Age of Disclosure is a great movie. He had a lot to do with that. He's the one that was on Fox News and getting on all of the national interviews. So he did a lot to bring the conversation where it is now. So
and then also, but he also spread like also very fake photos of UFOs.
But I mean that's probably his assignment, right? His assignment is to control the narrative, and then each time if the narrative gets out of control, he's there to step in and fix it, right? So by dropping fake photos.
Just to go back to Eric Davis quickly, UAP Gerb had a conversation with Eric Davis, right? And he asked Eric about human, like a reverse engineered craft, like the Fluxliner or those. And Eric Davis said, no, we don't have any of that. The programs have not moved at all. And UAP Gerb was just shocked that he would just lie straight to his face like that. Maybe Eric doesn't know how. No, I don't think that, because actually with the interview with Scafish, he said that he will not disclose any of the technology or how it works. So he is kind of saying we have done some progress. So that's just strange there, right? That he won't admit that we have our own crafts.
Yeah, but I think I think Eric Davis revealed a lot. I think he revealed as much as he could, and it's kind of interesting to see that they are allowed to reveal more and more, because they go through these DOPSA processes and from the Department of Defense, and the official story that they say is that it's just a regular process and it's not like very intense or etc. But come on.
Come on. Trillions of dollars for what?
Of course it's very scrutinized, and of course they're gonna sort of. But it's interesting when you read the book of Louis, because he does sort of where it is censored, you see where it is censored, and then he does put these notes underneath it, what sort of is talked about and why it is censored, even though you have to take his word for that. But that's but I mean the DOPSA is not like a random they're censoring stuff, like essential stuff.
Right. Yes. But and people like Elizondo and who else, like Jay Stratton, those are not real whistleblowers, right? A whistleblower doesn't say, "Well, I can't say this because I have clearances," or
true,
right?
That was always my opinion.
True.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, a whistleblower is someone that needs to run away from the country because what they've said, is a real whistleblowing.
Yeah. Like Snowden.
Yeah. Snowden.
Yes. Exactly. Like Snowden, and he's still. I don't know if he's ever going to come back.
Oh, he's not coming back.
Yeah, because what he did was, real damage. But if you're just out there going through DOPSR and having them approve what you're allowed to say, that's not really whistleblowing.
No, but
and everyone is against him. Obama was against him. Trump was against him. He's still against him, and Biden was against him too. So it's like no one is supporting him. So it's foolish for him to return.
Yeah. But then, we have someone like Jonathan Pollard who probably did more damage, and he gets a pardon.
Also, like Trump's spiritual leader for raping a kid got pardoned. Got punishment only for 6 months in jail. This is terrible. Like, come on, man. Trump he doesn't even care at this point anymore. Like what he's doing.
Doesn't.
Like 6 months for that. Like, wow.
But I think with the DOPSA, I think it's clear that the Department of Defense is releasing information to the public in order to feed the public bits and pieces, the crumbs, in order to follow the crumbs and lead to their form of disclosure. So we will get a form of disclosure, right? I totally agree, and I think it will happen this year because things are ramping up.
Yeah,
and with Bledsoe, right? I mean, he is clearly involved with high-level officials from the government and the army and the Navy and the Air Force. So, whatever is coming out of Bledsoe is officially approved, right? I think So if he is making a prediction that this something is going to happen in 2026, I think he has a green light, or he has had a green light from the very start to bring that, to the fore, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely giving us. They're going to give us a story. It's just, how elaborate is it going to be? How fantastic is it going to be? If Eric is out there saying this, and it's making the rounds about what happened in Holloman Air Force Base in the 60s. So if aliens did meet with the U.S. government back then, what was the agreement? What's been going on since then?
And maybe Sid is right. Maybe you do need like a war in the background in order to keep people in line, right? So that you sort of release it while there is also a war, and while you're also sort of fighting these enemies. Right? I mean, like we said, the whole empire building that Team Trump is doing with his big tech buddies is aimed at creating a space empire, right? We're going back into space. So maybe somebody's out there and we're now ready to fight them, but we have to portray them as the enemy in order to get people on board with the fighting, right? Maybe they are not our enemies.
Did you see that clip when Musk he introduced Hegseth and they were talking about Star Trek Foundation?
Yeah, I got it lined up here.
So that supports it there too, especially that he introduced the Secretary of War. Right, and talk about finding aliens.
I found that clip extremely interesting. So this one from Russia, I just wanted to highlight that George Knapp is now throwing all the Russian files out there, because he went to Russia and he got access to these hidden files, sort of the X-Files from Russia, and he's now throwing them all out in the open. Sort of another piece of the evidence that it's all coming out now. So but this one is from Elon, and I totally agree. This was super fascinating.
Yeah, the guy who says there's no aliens.
Make Star Trek real. Okay? We want to make Starfleet Academy real, so that it's not always science fiction, but one day the science fiction turns to science fact. And we have spaceships going through space, big spaceships, with people going to other planets, going to the moon, and ultimately going beyond our star system to other star systems where we may meet aliens or discover long-dead alien civilizations. I don't know, but we want to go and we want to see what's happening, and we want to have epic futuristic spaceships with lots of people in them, traveling to places we've never been to before.
He looks like an alien, to be honest.
He does.
I'm not sure. Does he say anything else?
And that's what I think the public thinks of when they think of Space Force. So, on that note, I'd like to introduce the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth.
on that note of aliens.
What a transition.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, the Secretary of War.
That is so.
On that note, the Secretary of War, like
Exactly.
He's talking about.
so basically,
Star
he
Trek.
want to go to other planet and conquer them. That's why you introduce Secretary of War.
Yes.
Star Trek, the show known for how kind humanity was and reaching out and building bridges, and he brings out the Secretary of War. That is great. That is
I was just gonna say, I'm like, having a Star Trek future is much better than having a Star Wars future. But then, he just introduced the Secretary of War right after that.
I think we are gonna get a Star Wars future, not a Star Trek.
So I'm so glad to call these nations here to build this peaceful committee, and I want to introduce Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, Star Wars future is probably in our future. It looks like it.
But it's I think it's like another clear sign that we're going into space, right? I mean, it's very clear that that's the
narrative. Yeah, that's the narrative that they're going with.
Yeah, but the official narrative for Project Bluebeam is that there's no aliens, or at least we're not really fighting aliens. But what if we actually are, and what if they're actually doing a false flag alien attack, like in order to fight the real aliens, which are actually good guys, right? Which
like
is
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, Stephen Greer, is basically sort of saying that, right? By claiming that aliens are evil or having evil intentions, the threat narrative that Louis Elizondo and others are pushing, that we're basically being led into a war in order to escape Earth. Maybe we're being held here for our own good or whatever, and we're now gonna expand beyond Earth, and they need to get past the gatekeepers that keep us here.
But you know what? Like for Project Bluebeam, that whole thing to work, they need a world war and a civil war. And world war we can see happening, but nobody is looking at the civil war. They are prepping everyone for the civil war. So basically, if you remember, like last week or a couple of weeks ago, Nick Shirley came out with Minnesota scam, and then this week, I've actually shared that tweet on the group if you want to open that. So there's this guy called Tyler Oliveira. He went to a
Yeah,
town
he's
in
good,
New
man.
York. Yeah, I love him, by the way. I love him. But he went in there, he found a city of Hasidic Jews where 40 to 60% of the people are on social welfare. They don't do work, they don't do things. There is a huge scam going on over there.
Yeah, Sid, isn't it 100%? He went into the grocery store and he asked, "So, what percentage of people use the food stamps?" And he goes, 100%. Oh my god, it's hilarious.
This one, right?
Yeah. This guy's brave, man. He's really brave. He's gonna get.
But like the whole details are there. It's like 60% of the city is on welfare, and it's all like the big scam going on. But everybody, it's just like all of them like doing a big scam over there.
I mean, all he's
this
saying
is how you rile up people, each other.
Right, and what he's basically saying is like, what it's is happening everywhere in many communities, not just like the Somali community.
Somali community, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did a good job over there, because like before it was just focused on one community, now they are showing other communities, so they have to bring the narrative down. I think he's trying to stop the civil war, but the whole Minnesota thing is just like to cause the panic, and that's
I hope it
how
doesn't
this is if you look at Minnesota right now, there are like literal civil war going on. Police is throwing shells at people, like people are fighting. They were trying to do it, and this guy did an amazing thing. Nobody gonna do anything about this. They won't even talk. Nobody's talking about that. This is, I think, way bigger than, because this is a whole city involved in that. That's just like one group which is like running daycare or that stuff. Like that's nothing compared to this scam, but nobody gonna talk about that.
Yeah, and I think sort of. By the way, this map I got via you, Adam. I think.
I think Richard Geldrick, right? He shared this.
Yeah, these are sightings in the 50s, I believe. He actually managed to get hold of the real newspaper back in the 50s, and all the black spots that you see on the map are UFO sightings. And this article sort of goes into like, if they are real or not. But clearly, a tremendous amount of them are. And you've got also the Foo Fighters and the Ghost Rockets and all that kind of stuff from the 40s and 50s. So clearly there is something out there beyond humanity that is.
One thing I noticed back is that when you read all those things, you see flying saucers. Now, in every sighting, you don't see saucers; you see spheres. So there is a difference in something going on, because it's not the same aliens or it's not the same technology.
So, do you want to go to the Nostradamus thing?
Yeah. But do you guys agree that we don't see flying saucers in any sighting anymore?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the latest one was, I think, when was that, Topher? It was definitely last year. I saw Tic Tac to go over my house. So yeah, I'm not seeing saucers. It's Tic Tacs, and at night it'll be like lights, right?
Yeah, Tic Tac and spheres and triangles, no saucers. So I think saucers were real aliens. These are reverse engineered technologies. That's my assumption.
They're probably staying away now because we've been shooting them down for so long. They're like, stay away from Earth.
Well, the Virginia one, or what's the name of Virginia? The one in Venezuela. Or that's Colombia? Colombia was it, right?
No, I think it was Venezuela.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the location. But the one where the little people, ran around and they captured. The one that we talked about last time.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah. Okay. So Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't remember anything from Venezuela. I was silent on that. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either, right? So yeah. Well, anyway, okay, Brazil.
Oh yeah, and that's they're doing a press conference on on Tuesday or Wednesday. The doctor, he's gonna be in front of the press talking about his experience with James Fox.
Wow, this is really cool. I want to see.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if I was in DC, I'll definitely go there. But it's gonna be live for free, he said.
Virginia. Yeah, but my point is those are like the classic little men in a circular craft, right?
Yeah, that was a circular craft. Yeah,
that was in 1996, I guess, or
Mhm.
yeah. So like maybe in the early 2000s they stopped being seen so much,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Since early 2000, we started seeing tic tacs and egg shape, like spheres, and triangles as well. So these
Triangles,
are the
yeah.
new. Yeah.
That's right. There was some new footage that came out. I think I sent it to Topher.
Yeah, you did. That was really interesting. But not to get too in the weeds here. If you do believe the UFOs and beings that we're seeing are just our half psychic phenomena, as humankind goes through different generations, right? We all perceive technology in different ways. So in the 50s you've got flying saucers, and then in the 80s you've got boomerangs and triangles. Now we've got tic tacs, right? Because it's adapting to what our mental psyche as a whole species.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, what we're ready to see, basically.
And then also, right, if there's one species interacting with us and it's able to get here, then clearly we're missing something, and then there's probably many more also interacting with us.
Yeah.
That's so true.
What's this here? Great. Oh, this is the
Nostradamus.
So let's go. You have to help us here, Sid. So the great swarm of bees rising by night ambush from century 1, quadrant 26, often interpreted symbolically as a sudden organized rise of power. Bees, hives, collectives, sometimes linked to empires. Like Napoleon's symbol, or even modern political fascist movements. Oh, well, okay. Some see it as a surprise attacks, drone swarms, cyber threats, or authoritarian regime taking ground.
Yeah.
They covered everything there, I think.
Yeah, but this is a good description, because it could be drone attempt, like drone swarm, which is like a bee. Also, it could be real bee swarms too, because if you remember in 2020 there was a thing going on that 5G is affecting bees. And maybe this time they're going to take revenge.
We also had the story of the killer. What was it, killer hornets? That was
Killer
short-lived.
hornet.
You remember that?
Killer hornets, yeah.
Right on the tail end of COVID, they were popping up in Washington State. I
remember that. Yeah.
No, also they attacked IDF recently.
They
You
did.
know the story? Yeah.
Oh damn!
The bees, actually, there was like a whole meme thing going on that bees are Hamas.
Oh, I did see that. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That was
Because
so
they
weird.
are doing some crazy things. So it is quite possible that they are actual bees who are just rising up, but also could be swarms.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of that. I think it's the Wicker Man with Nick Cage. Not the bees. Not the bees.
Not the bees. Yeah. Oh, dude, he's great, that guy.
But I mean, like the political explanation is also very interesting.
Yeah.
With political fascist movements. I mean that's what we're seeing, right? So also in Europe, by the way, it's not just in America. Then a prominent figure struck by lightning thunderbolt from century 1, quadrant 26. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt. This gets read as the sudden death or assassination or downfall of a major leader, celebrity, or politician. Daytime lightning, dramatic public event.
Well, let's just hope it's BB. But it won't.
Oh boy.
No, but I think what's gonna happen, I think they're gonna use some advanced direct energy weapon on Iran to assassinate Khamenei. And
Man,
this,
that'll be terrible.
they don't have to use that, but I'm just saying they could use any technology or even a bomb. But I think it's referring to that because Trump is hinting that for a while. When Trump hints something, he tried to do it, and
Yeah,
I think he
and
will be successful.
And let's be honest, right? If they've been reverse engineering for 80 plus years, and it's now all coming out, and and one of the other things about Trump is like he gets a lot of support from the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, right?
He does.
So I think it's not only big tech that wants its hands on these technologies that were given to other big tech companies and got an unfair advantage. I think it's also the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and especially the Navy, I think, that want to use these technologies. I think they have been restrained, or that they have felt to be restrained, and that maybe these technologies have been used by the higher ups for their own private stuff.
Yeah, like 9/11.
Yeah, and that these armies now have, to gain riches and power, and these, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force are, like, by definition, are nationalistic entities, right? Because central banks, intelligence communities, and the military-industrial complex is amorphic intranational organizations that share very little with the countries they say to represent, right? They're more like commercial, financial entities. And I think the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force feel like they are under attack and being undermined. And that's, I think, that's why I also think the connection with someone like Julius Caesar and the fall of Rome is very apropos, because, maybe they feel like we're now going to use these technologies, to our advantage and to restore the empire.
For sure. I mean, why would you increase the budget? Because it was $750 billion, right? And you put it up to $1 trillion, and now next year it's going to be $1.5 trillion. What the hell is that money for? I mean, that is an insane amount of money.
Yeah, and why not use these technologies if you have them, right? Why keep them in the closet? Why not weaponize them and gain superiority?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I think the U.S. has no choice. Either fall or just do it this way.
Yeah, they have to be reborn. And they're fighting tough foes, right? China is a very it's not an easy target.
Not at all. Yeah.
7th-month war is just tied to the previous one, which is after assassination. If the war starts, it will last for 7 months at least. It's going to be a long war. It's not going to be a 12-day war.
Yeah.
So from Century 2 or others, 7 months Great War, people dead through evil, and then some references to previous kings, interpreted as prolonged but limited global or regional conflict, possibly naval. 7 ships. Hey, the carrier fleets in related verses with massive casualties, many tied to ongoing wars, Russia, Ukraine, or perhaps Iran.
Yeah. And anyway, the aircraft carrier are moving to Middle East right now. So
did you guys see Putin telling Europe that he'll wipe UK and Germany off the map?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Well, I can understand his frustration, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's just and then Tucker had an interview with a high-level Russian advisor to Putin, and he said the same thing. He goes, if the war doesn't stop in a year or two, we're gonna have to take out Europe. He literally just said, just plainly said that, and Tucker was what repeat that. What, you guys will nuke? He goes, yeah, we'll nuke UK and Germany.
Well, it is interesting because I had this conversation with, I won't name the person, but from a European perspective. So in Europe, you got different perspectives, but sort of the two main perspectives are either, the perspective that I'm taking, which is, a growing, disillusioned group of people who are, looking through the ruse. But then you have sort of the higher up, well-to-do, high-educated people of Europe who are still very much under the spell of the last 50 years, and they are actually not afraid so much. Well, they're very afraid of everything,
right?
But they now are also very afraid that Trump might actually be Hitler, and that Trump is doing what Hitler did with Poland and Austria, taking little bites out of Venezuela and Greenland. But that Trump's real aim is actually to conquer Europe, and that Europe in response will take hostage the American soldiers in the bases here. I mean, these people are insane. No offense to the person that I spoke to, but I mean, I think America has more soldiers here than Europe has soldiers here. So I don't know exactly how we're going to take them hostage.
But you have like the whole, like these are your countries. You can easily take them like as a captive. It's not a big deal.
The U.S. has destroyed Europe essentially, right? With destroying the Nord Stream pipeline, destroying the relationship with Russia, with cheap energy, which hurts manufacturing, and I don't know. I mean,
and just put 10% tariff yesterday.
But to be honest, European armies are a joke. Like the
Dude,
stuff of the world.
I think we are underestimating Germany and UK and France. They are not that. Like they can take the bases. This is not a big deal. America is so far away. I think they can easily take.
Okay, well,
which will start a big conflict after Europe is finished. But I think initially they will take off the bases. That's not a big deal in my opinion.
I think it would be. I mean, it's already suicidal what Europe is doing. But if they do that, then we'll just
it'll be over.
Which will tie it up to the next one, which is like River of the Blood in Europe.
Probably. if we do something like that. Okay, from century second quadrant 26. Because of the favor that the city will show, that Ticino will overflow with blood. That's probably an Italian river. Violence, bloodshed, or disaster in Switzerland. Okay, Switzerland's Ticino region, Italian-speaking area, perhaps from spillover conflict, civil unrest, or a natural man-made catastrophe, despite Switzerland's long neutrality. Other recurring themes in 2026 interpretations include naval battles, possibly South China Sea, the fall of Western influence. That's definitely true. And the hopeful note, this rise of a man of light after darkness, symbolizing renewal, a new leader, or humanity's recovery.
Antichrist.
Interesting. Well, I wasn't aware of any of these predictions, but they fit ours pretty.
Fit perfectly. Like this could happen, and I was surprised when I read that. I was like, okay, Nostradamus did that, and they are very relevant. I'm not saying that's exactly going to happen. Nobody can predict exact future because it's changing all the time, but it's very relevant.
It is crazy how relevant it is. Yeah, but the whole Switzerland thing, that's a bit weird, right? That one, I
think Switzerland could be whole Europe, right? He's just saying that Italian region, but it could be like, and in Europe, I can see because France, Germany, and like UK sending their armies in Greenland. The war can start over there.
Like one or two soldiers.
No. France sent more. UK sent one soldier. That was hilarious. But France sent actually, like, I saw the videos. There were like whole fleet of it. Like there were like hundreds of soldiers.
I mean, I don't know why Europe symbolic. Why would Europe be against the US taking Greenland if it's going to protect the hemisphere? You think?
Well, I think that has to do with what Sid is talking about, right? Because it would be the official end of NATO, right? And I think the Europeans are more afraid of that than losing Greenland. And I also think, what we talked about last time on your show is that in Europe, the elite, sort of the people who are still barely in control, are the old elite, that are subscribers to the World Economic Forum, the Davos crowd, the Soros crowd. And to me, they were always connected to China, right? If China has done anything the past 50 years, it has been like a long march through the institutions, through infiltration, from the United Nations to basically all of the international organizations, and they have been very successful at doing that. I mean, I think that's partly the reason why America and the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy are, and this half coup that we're seeing in America is a response to regaining control of America.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree, especially that Trump now is forcing the defense contractors not to do bonuses or buybacks, and that they have to put their money into manufacturing in the United States, right?
Yeah, because Wall Street is like one giant leech, right? And it's heavily invested in China, right? In Beijing, right? So because China is doing the same thing as what America is doing, only it is doing it with a turbocharger, right? They're also printing money only times 100, right?
Yeah,
they're just catching up on us, like on a hyperspeed.
But their central bank is a little different because it's not debt creation; it's credit creation, right? And then when the bank creates credit, infrastructure has to be created with that money. So that's why you see lots of roads, lots of trains, and that, by the way, was the original idea of Hamilton and our first national bank.
Yeah, but they do have a problem, right? I mean, they built basically gigantic ghost cities, with too few people, and that's like a huge overhang in their economy. And right now they're devaluing against gold. That's the reason why gold has been gaining so much, and silver because of the price of gold. Then silver price also has to go up. But it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter, right? As Richard Werner explains, like the only thing that you actually should invest in, if you care about the people, is to invest in small and medium businesses. In people.
Right. Regular people.
But all the other things are sort of, it's basically just creating. Okay, it's better that investing in roads and infrastructure than in finance. Totally agree with that, but it's still not really good if there's not a demand. Like if the demand is not really there, but you just create stuff in the hope that demand will suddenly appear. And that's just insane. Like if there's no demand for a bridge, you shouldn't build a bridge, right?
Right. but they've taken over Africa by doing this, right? It's different than us. We like to bully, go to war, give weapons or bribe. They go in, they're like, we'll build hospitals for you, we'll build roads, bridges, and just give us your resources, or instead of paying, or pay us in resources. And that's how they've taken over Africa. And they started doing that in South America.
It's not a bad deal too. It's like actually China is helping those countries to this idea that they are taking over. No, they are helping, and then they're doing business. They're taking profit out of it for sure, but they are helping those countries.
Yeah, but often what they do is they give loans so that those countries can participate, and then they can't pay back those loans, and then they take over.
As World Bank.
That's what I'm saying. They're exactly the same. They're no better.
No, so but at least it's much better because like US is going and killing those people, China is building. Yes, loan, but it's much better than just going and killing and taking over the land.
They're not yet killing people because they're weaker than America, but each hegemon.
No, they are not weaker, man. I think you are underestimating China. First of all, China has a different philosophy. They don't want to follow this pattern. By the way, I don't like China. I'm not, but I'm just saying when you look at that, that's not what they do. This is not their plan. They want like economic superiority, but they don't want to kill people. That's not their thing.
Right. Yeah, that's the difference there. Yeah, one wants to help your infrastructure and economy, and for a win-win, or it looks like a win-win, and one wants to bully you. And say
I wouldn't put my hand in fire for that. I mean, if you look at,
of course, I would rather. I would rather the U.S. be a hegemon, not China. But the way China is doing it is much smarter than us. We're destroying our currency, destroying our. Like, what happened to diplomacy, right? I mean, after World War II, it was all diplomacy mostly. Okay, except for some countries, but in general, it was all diplomacy and respect for sovereignty, and we just don't see that anymore.
No, but that's sort of when you study money, right? Fiat money has a shelf life of about 100 to max 200 years, and then it implodes. Like it always implodes the same way as we are seeing right now, and then usually. No matter the empire, Ray Dalio wrote an entire book on it, like from the Dutch to the Spanish to the French to the English to the Americans, but even the Chinese. And eventually, these fiat systems they always implode the same way, in exactly the same way, and then they always end up with war. That's
always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Also, regarding the current situation. First of all, China holds a lot of US debt. They have also like they hold the most amount of dollars. If they flooded the market, the dollar is crash. Why I'm saying that, this is exactly what happened to Iran currency. There
Mhm.
this $1 is 1.4 million tuman or something. How it
What?
happened? Yeah, because I was reading about that. A lot of foreigners were buying Iranian currency for years, slowly. And
Yeah.
then, when I say foreigner, one country in Middle East. That was like
Right.
the main, yeah.
Yeah.
So those people were buying, and then they suddenly dumped everything. That caused that economic collapse.
Right.
And
And
I
that's
think that was a
what the
test
riots
run.
were about. That's what the rioters
Yeah,
were about, right? Yeah.
yeah. And that was the test run. I think this is gonna happen to the dollar, and China gonna do it. They just tested it out if it worked. They tested it out in Iran. I think that's gonna happen to dollar. And they all
Yeah,
are connected.
I do think that we're reaching the peak of hyperinflation in Iran, and one toman is 10 rial or Iranian
No, no, no.
rial.
$1 is 1.4 million
Yeah,
tuman.
no. I mean one toman is 10 Iranian rial because they counting toman like you say, but I agree, like it's 1.45
Tuman.
million. Yeah, 1.45 million.
Yeah, I think they have two currency thing going on, Rial and
Yeah.
Tuman. I was looking at the chart at Tuman, which is like 1.4. I was like, oh, it's
Dude,
insane.
that's crazy. So it was 45,000, right?
Yeah.
On January 6th, and then January 7th it jumped to 1 million.
Yes. And this
Oh
was
my
not
god.
coincidence. This was like a deliberate test they did on and then this is what happened with the protest. That was not against the regime, that was against this whole economic collapse, and this was not against even Khamenei, this was against their president, Pezeshkian, the whole thing.
So
And then it
scary,
was
man.
hijacked and become into riots. It was like a whole global plan. Very, like, I think I've seen enough conspiracies and enough psyops in the world. I can see where the next one is happening right now, and this is a psyop. And I think this is just a test run. The big one
Yeah,
gonna
okay.
come and will mess up the whole world.
But the problem with Iran was of course also that they were very dependent on the oil sector, right? So
They have only oil, nothing else.
yeah. So with the
Yeah.
sanctions, and the sanctions have been going for years now.
Decades.
Yeah, but they didn't affect. If, as
The
Adam
oil industry,
said,
yeah.
on 6 it was 45,000 and it turned into 1.4 million. That's like a huge jump, and it cannot happen in one day. It was a deliberate crash.
That's hyperinflation. Yeah, that's 20.
Yeah.
That's
It
20
just happened
times.
in one day.
Yeah, that's so scary.
They
dude.
have
Imagine your savings are just wiped out when that happens.
Yeah, they have those like sanctions since like 1980. So it's
Yeah.
not just the sanction; it's just something else. Something really big happened, and nobody is focusing that because people are distracted. There's like a big blue beam conspiracy going on,
Well,
and I think they didn't even leave them a chance. They have to go to war to survive. I think the war is gonna come.
But with the toman, you clearly saw a run up like over the years, right? I mean, the point with the hyperinflation is like that it's a hockey stick. Like the last part will always go the fastest. But you have seen this run up going on for years, right? That the inflation was the same thing in Turkey, right? So at the end, the more sort of uncertainty you have in a situation, and of course there was a huge uncertainty with right now with the US gonna strike or not gonna strike. So people holding toman are gonna sell, right? And the more you sell into the market, it floods the market with currency that leads to inflation. But I think we're sort of reaching the peak. I think we're reaching the inflection point.
No, but the thing about finances, you can easily track. It's not the Iranians who dump. It's like a specific group who. It's like, I'm not gonna go into details. People can go and search. It's like a specific group which dumped it.
Yeah, they found out CIA and Mossad that were buying it up and dumped it.
It's like, it's open. It's not even hidden. Like, we know that who did that. CIA and Mossad was involved. They did it deliberately.
See what I mean?
And nobody talks about that. That pisses me off. Like, this is happening in front of our eyes. Not a single news outlet is taking this story.
Even
but
AI
but to be honest, right? If I was a large shareholder in Iran right now, or a business or a company, I would dump my toman on the market too.
After that, right? But the people who dumped that caused the crash, That's what we are talking about.
Even AI is saying, look, based on reports from early 2026, the CIA and Mossad are heavily implicated by Iranian officials and analysts in accelerating the collapse of the Iranian rial as part of a broader destabilizing hybrid warfare strategy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the sanctions are a clear part of it, right? And the oil industry was failing. But yeah, I mean, of course, if you're attacking, you would also do financial weapons. Yeah, who wouldn't?
Crazy, man, crazy. That's what.
And I mean,
life miserable there.
It's also clear that there, with the rebellion or the uprising, right? America is also very clearly involved, like in Venezuela, right? I mean,
Venezuela failed miserably on Trump's face. He did abduct him, but then the regime is there and it's even more stronger. And recently, nobody's talking about that. They hijacked a Russian oil tanker which was going from Venezuela.
Oh yeah.
No, but that's not the story. The real story is like nobody's talking about that. It's so secret that Venezuelan people, Maduro supporter, and the leader of them is Cabello. He actually put a leak in that trailer and it's now leaking near Aruba. And the whole tanker is leaking. There is like not just economic, environmental disaster happening near Aruba. Everybody is losing their mind. This is like a very secret news. I just have like people everywhere, so we get news from different stories. Right now, near Aruba, there are like satellite pictures out that is leaking badly, and they are trying to fix it. Blackwater, Eric Prince went there to fix that because they were also afraid that they get like attacked by Venezuelans. So Eric Prince is providing, like Blackwater is providing security for the scientists for the engineers to go and fix that leak. There's like a lot of things happening in the background. Nobody's talking about it.
Was that a Russian tanker you said?
Russian tanker, yeah.
Yeah, and of course they did the same thing in Ukraine, right? I mean, with the uprisings in Ukraine were also fabricated. I mean, for the most part. I mean, of course, there were also real Ukrainians who were uprising. I'm not saying that all of it was fake, but it was fomented by CIA and others, right? MI6 and MI5. So, guys, we are running out of time. But as usual, hey, I did want to sort of touch upon, because I called it Psyops, and we already touched upon a lot of Psyops, and there's many more, and there will only like a hockey stick, they'll probably only increase. But I wanted to ask you guys, like, and especially you guys from the UAP the podcast, like, what Psyop out there do you totally do you believe is there to destabilize a society?
Restabilize society. A psyop that would restabilize society. Destabilize. I mean, the ones that are going on now, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one specifically in America and probably elsewhere in the world is just the media, the politicians. They always find ways to get you to distrust your neighbors. I've said it on our show a bunch. You could walk outside and talk to 100 people in your general vicinity, and I mean, typically they'll all have the same views as you. They want to have a job, they want to have a family, a place to live, and they want food on their table. But the media makes it seems like everyone's against you. You're on the right side of history, and everyone else is evil or a Nazi or a racist, or some liberal commie. I think that's the biggest psyop in the United States is to get people to hate each other.
Yeah, and it still works. It's crazy that it still works, even though we have all these quote unquote independent media outlets. And everyone's talking about that. It's not left versus right. It's not blue versus red. Our problems are the same. So, unfortunately, this psyop always works.
But it's not working on Gen Z, which is a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Yeah, because they are way aware of the situation. They realize what's psyop, what's not. And you can see that I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying majority of them, they are not buying the psyops.
And they now also have the tools to organize, right? Because, with BitChat, I'm not sure if you guys have been following that.
I just downloaded it this morning.
Yeah, I also got it. But
so I don't understand how it works though, because I mean I know it's through Bluetooth, but it doesn't ask you for a username or contacts or anything like that.
Yeah. So kind of hops from phone to phone, right? So because they need Bluetooth to read out your metadata, and so the powers that be and your government and organizations, they need Bluetooth. That's why your phone goes on in the middle of the night to read out of your data. But you can actually use their strength. Their strength is also their weakness, right? You can use it against them. And basically, these uprisings in Madagascar, Nepal, Iran, basically all over the world, they have been made possible for a large part by this new BitChat, which sort of is a decentralized form of communication, which is created by Jack Dorsey, and it's super cool, right?
Pretty genius, if you ask me.
It's very genius.
Yeah.
It's a mesh
I don't
network.
trust them.
Especially if they cut off the internet and you still have your phones, you can still all communicate. Yeah, which is amazing.
That's the plan, but I don't trust this whole thing because remember the Signal used to be the most secure app. Turned out it was a lie, and I don't trust this thing too. I think they're probably a spyware in that. I'm not gonna download.
I mean, yes. There's
you can
always
also delete all your stuff.
Right. I mean, but the good news about Signal is that you're not in the you can't, all of your data can't be vacuumed up. You're not in that system, but you can be targeted, of course. Yeah. If you're a target, they'll read your messages.
But basically, these secret services also use your Bluetooth in order to target you, right? That's why they sort of can circumvent your defenses, your cybersecurity often. But I wanted actually to ask you something else, right? Okay, so but I totally agree with what you guys just said. But let me say it just out front because it has been annoying me for a very long time. What do you guys think about stuff like Flat Earth and Tartaria?
I've gone down that rabbit hole. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think over a decade ago, I did go into the flat Earth thing, and because there was some really good documentaries, highly produced, and I was like, whoa! So I did go there, and I did believe it. I would say for a year, and then I even went into concave Earth, which made sense mathematically because you can't really tell. Even Carl Sagan said that once, that if it was concave, we wouldn't even know because even from space you can't tell. So I got into that for a bit, but then I realized that it was just muddying the waters because flat Earth came out when 9/11 truth was becoming big. So I feel that they put that in, and those were the people who were looking into it. So there was already no trust of government, or at least a lot less trust. So it was easy to fall for it. But then they threw it in there because then you say, oh, those 9/11 truthers are just flat earthers, right? And just it will destroy that movement. So I think that's why it was put in there. Obviously, I'm not a flat earther anymore. It's been a long time. I'm one of those that went and came back. Apparently, many people don't come back, but
I think most of the people have like dabbled with the flat Earth, but then they realize it's bullshit. By the way, Nick and I have like a whole discussion on those things, especially on Tartaria. But yeah, I can't say about Nick, but I just don't believe in any of that bullshit. That's
Tartaria is cool. I did go down that rabbit hole as well. There's no reason why not to believe it. I mean, it from the maps, from even just the infrastructure that it had. I guess was that part of the Russian Empire, or was like a Muslim empire as well? Because I know there's mosques and churches, and right.
I got this because for the people who don't know, this video sort of illustrates what it's what they sort of claim.
Right. Yeah.
This book is from 1777. America was 1 year old at the time. The name of this book is right here. It's the Universal Geographical Grammar from 1777. I'll be going through this book, making a lot of videos. There's some crazy stuff in here. I'm just going to give a quick preview of this. Because there's things in here like, so here's the opening map. Here's the opening map of the world. And right let's see, right? Hold on.
Yeah, right there.
Right here, Eastern Tartary. And right here is Western Tartary. And there's China. And what we'll get into farther back is going to be Chinese Tartary also. And then over here, the lower half of America is Florida. The left side, you can see California. And the whole top is empty. And there is no Canada.
Right. Anyway, so this is like a, sort of, actually one of the better examples of Tartaria, to be honest, because it's a real book and somebody actually reading a book, which is nice to see. But yeah, like you said, like it was a real area, right? At least it was designated by Muslims and Christians as Tartaria.
Yeah, it was like a utopia, right? Like with free energy.
Well, that is the part that is probably not true, right? I mean, there's no evidence that there was free energy. And
well, they use it was how the churches were built, and the spires, right? Something like that. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's all when it comes to these things, it's speculation, because they even said that Tartaria was even in North America, and that when that empire collapsed, that the elite took over those buildings.
No, it was
right.
They said that it was destroyed in a mudslide. That's like the story.
Mudslide, exactly, which was here
Yeah,
too.
it's not happening, man. If like a civilization like that gonna destroyed by a mudslide, come on. Also, if
I
it's
know the mudslide thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if it's mudslide, it means everything is under there. Just go and dig and find the archaeological things over there. Do some archaeology and find that, and that will be the find of the century. You will get Nobel Prize for that. I don't know what you're gonna get. I don't think Tartaria is real. This is just
so my take on Tartaria was always that they mix in basically what you just said with flat Earth and 9/11 is like they mix in real truths in order to ridicule them, right? Because they're mixing a lot of nonsense in there. Because I think all of us on this panel believe that Nikola Tesla was a very important figure, and that he might very well have discovered what is more or less free energy, right? And then it was hidden from us, and the same with Townsend Brown and this whole cover-up. But then they turned this into this really strange and ridiculous story that there was an empire that stretched from Russia in the east to the Middle East, Europe, all the way to America, where people basically had free energy and could land on skyscrapers and reload their batteries, and people had hovering disc where they could fly.
I mean, it's just a modern day Atlantis, or sorry, more modern day Atlantis, right? I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's you got Lemuria, you've got Atlantis, you got Tartaria. It's all people want to believe in these ancient civilizations because I think there's a nugget of truth in there someplace.
Yeah, but that's my point, right?
That's not even ancient civilization. This is like 17th century, man.
Well, that's why I said more modern.
Yeah, but the official story is that it lasted right up to the First World War, right? So basically, our grandparents must have experienced Tartaria and then forgot about it.
Good point.
During the Great Reset.
Yeah,
but so they mix sort of elements of truth in there, like Great Reset, and that that war and famine are often sort of employed, or the consequence of these resets, and free energy with Tesla. But one of the other things is really strange with the story of Tartaria is that they celebrate Nikola Tesla as their inventor because he discovered free energy. But then, according to their own timeline, they already had it before he even was born.
That's what I'm saying.
Like at the end of the empire, they finally discovered the stuff that they have been using for 300 years.
So many holes. Also, the map, you look at it, it's like Middle East, Europe, Russia. Dude, we have a recorded history with actual artifacts from that time of that history. Like
Yep.
there was like wars, there were crusade going on, there were like Ottoman Empire was there were like Roman Empire, not Roman, but like British Empire was there, Russian Empire was there. That's like a proven history with actual record of every day we had.
Yeah,
All the wars we fought, you don't think any of them will notice a civilization like that, which is not just in from Middle East to America. There is a civilization and nobody ever talked about that in any actual history books. This is just doesn't make sense.
No, and again, like, that's no secret that Muslim and Christian sources refer to that area as Tataria, right? That's never been controversial or a big deal. So
Oh, it's the biggest deal. They were Mongols were from there. That's why they refer it Tataria. That the actual name of like Mongol Empire is like Tatarian Empire. They
Yeah.
were the
Yeah,
Mongols.
exactly. That's what I think. Yeah, it's Mongol. Yeah, exactly. That's Genghis Khan, probably.
Yeah,
But-
Genghis Khan, they were the Tatarians.
But anyway, I find it really curious. I know some people close to me who are like really hardcore believers in Tataria, and they keep sending me stuff, and I'm sort of like, yeah, I already know that, right? But it doesn't prove anything. But for them, it's sort of proof that it somehow was hidden, and now it's coming out, and then it also proves that they had free energy, which isn't, there's no connection. And then they show these strange videos that are clearly AI manipulated, and then anyway.
Yeah, it's a distraction. I mean, even if it's true, okay. So, I mean, there's many civilizations that we know have risen and fallen.
Yeah.
So, I guess because of that whole story of free energy, and then it was taken away from us. Don't they bring the world tours into that? Not world tours. The U.S. had these. Yeah, they bring that into the equation too, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they throw everything in the mixer, right? Whatever, they throw everything at the wall, and whatever sticks. They run with.
Yeah. That's why I feel like Tartaria is.
Just to come at it from the other side, I mean, isn't it possible? Like Adam, you were talking about the 9/11 thing and flat Earth, right? Like flat Earth got grouped into the 9/11 thing, so they could discredit anyone who's looking for the truth about 9/11.
Yep.
I mean, isn't there like a potential argument to be had saying, yeah, Tartaria was a real place, but then all the obviously fake BS stuff got looped in with it, so people could discredit the whole thing. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying, based on the evidence and looking into the conspiracies we've looked into, I think it should be considered at least.
And it is definitely
Tataria is a real place.
Yeah.
There's no denying it. That's Mongol Empire. That's like literally because I've read so many books about Tatarians. That's why I'm pretty sure about that, because I know who they were. Especially not Genghis Khan, is like grandson Hulagu Khan. That was the main guy who was Hulagu Khan, who was like the guy who built the mountain of skulls. This is that guy, Hulagu Khan.
Got it.
That was the guy who was like known as the Tatarian emperor.
Yeah, you got the different hordes. Basically, the Mongol Empire was the biggest empire after the UK Empire. The British Empire was even bigger. But if the Mongols actually invaded Japan, which they almost did, if it wasn't for a storm, then it might have very well been the biggest empire the world had ever seen. And they were very good in a lot of things, right? Especially warfare, but also they were quite, free. And they had the Pax Mongolia, where there was free trade, and people were quite happy, after the war stopped. But they didn't have free energy.
That's all
drinking
the cool
blood.
story.
They were drinking
bro.
blood. Yeah.
But what I think is like what both of you rightly point out, like they discredit stories that are real, right? Ancient civilizations that probably did have free energy or free energy like technologies, like these churches and how they were built. And also, Nikola Tesla and his work, and resets are true throughout history, right? So they contain elements of truth. But I think they do that in order to discredit all the good stuff, because they throw it in this crazy mixer and it becomes ridiculous. And then people are like, oh, you're probably somebody who believes in Tataria, right? So,
This is exactly what happened, because the stories like around the free energy and all those things are real. It's just not happening in one place called Tataria. And Tataria was a real place.
And it's actually and it also destabilizes societies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I actually had some almost, a pretty heavy arguments with the persons who believe it, because they're so adamant, and because they are of the opinion that because everything is a lie and they are living in the matrix, then the opposite must be true, right? And then they just believe whatever is on X or whoever they follow.
Exactly. Yeah. Or a quick video on TikTok about
those are my favorite.
So they are expert after watching 10-second video. That's the caliber of those guys.
Yeah, and it also shows the lack of education, right? I mean, because like Sid and me just said, like, Tataria, it's not a big deal. It's in most history books. I think you even get it in high school to some degree. And, you got the book from Frankopan, The Silk Road, Christopher Beckwith. You got whole libraries full of the Silk, Tataria. But I want to talk about this guy because this guy is hilarious. So, have you seen this one?
Is he also Tartaria?
No.
No, I didn't see this.
Okay, I'll play it, and then I want to hear you guys' opinion.
Okay.
How many of you know about the object in Greenland? A couple of you, okay. Well, for those of you that don't know, there is a spacecraft that has melted out of the ice in Greenland. As you know, the North Pole has melted completely. You can go from London to Moscow or to Russia by going over the North Pole now. All the ice cap is gone. The last place that has ice on it was Greenland. Greenland had a 18,000-foot ice cap on it. Well, the spacecraft that is anchored in the center of Greenland created the last ice age 50,000 years ago. It's a weather machine. It's 55 miles wide, 300 miles long, and 2 miles high. The people that lived in it were called the Mois. If you draw a straight line from the spacecraft to the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., through the Yucatan Peninsula Great Pyramid at Mitsubishi, it ends up on Easter Island where the Mois have been dug out of this dirt. The heads on Easter Island, well, 2 years ago they finally went ahead and they excavated, and they're all 65 to 85-foot people, full-body carvings. And these were the people that lived in the spacecraft that was uncovered that's melting out of the ice in Greenland. So when you think we've been alone, these people have been up there for 50,000 years. The spacecraft is still active after 50,000 years. It has a 200-mile dampening field where no electrons can flow into it. In 1947, a B-52 bomber flew into that pattern, into the dampening field, when trying to fly between Maine and London. As a result of that, they lost power and crashed in Greenland. As they sent in rescue B-52 bombers to rescue them, they hit that same dampening field, but they veered off. They just ricocheted off of it. And by testing, trying to get to these guys, they were able to bring a circumference and find out that there was an object 200 miles to the center of this field. On the southwest corner of Greenland, there is a small community. It's the only community on the island of Greenland. That community is a military post, CIA, that uses a compressed air generator to operate diesel engines to run a Caterpillar to run back and forth to 200 miles from the base to the object in Greenland. A lot of our technology comes from the reverse engineering out of the spacecraft. It is still functional and is still in operation. So
who's this dude?
Yeah, okay. So
who's this dude?
So this dude is this dude is hilarious. So first of all, okay, what do you guys think about this story?
I mean, it'd be nice if it's true, but yeah.
Sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I was just, it'd be nice if it's true, but come on, why is there always a UFO in the middle of these things, right? It's just too convenient, and I don't know. It just seems fantastic.
And how do you think about sort of the presentation of the evidence?
Well, we're seeing this on X, so it's 100% true.
And TikTok, right?
Yep. So
and like every evidence is AI generated.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this whole story is written by ChatGPT,
and don't forget the church music in the background.
Yeah,
that was nice. That was a nice touch.
Right. So it's interesting. So this is like for me, it's sort of like yeah, what you call it? It's fake news, disinformation. Sort of a Tataria kind of thing, where they mix in truths and then just go on a
Right.
imaginary
So there
journey.
might be something like that, because when
Also,
we went to
I
Iraq,
just don't.
we
Sorry,
grabbed.
go ahead.
No, I'm saying when we went to Iraq, the first things we grabbed were the ancient
Tablets.
Sumerian tablets, and right. So there's always some layer of that. So I bet you there is something in Greenland. I'm just not sure. It's some weather machine UFO. Didn't he say it's a weather machine, like creates weather?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, he said you can draw a straight line. Dude, we live in a globe. I can draw a straight line to any place on a globe.
And
This
what was
is
the,
like literally what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, we live on a globe. We are not living on a flat earth.
what was the connection to Easter Island? How did he connect this
Oh, yeah.
thing?
Yeah, because the straight line went to Easter Island. So whatever.
And that's what makes you could make that argument. Yeah, Sid's right. You could make that argument about anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's a globe, dude.
But because that line then crossed some other important sites, then it's true or whatever. I don't know. But the dampening is real. So that part of the story is actually true. But then he connects it of course, to a spacecraft. And then this one is interesting because this was some other person who sort of posted underneath it, and this also very interesting because I'm not sure what to think about this. But here we go. There's no Greenland for people watching.
Oh, that's good.
We can
That is
easily go
great.
and verify this thing. It's on Google. And this is like somebody added oh, come on.
Who put that there?
Sandwich Islands, where Subway sandwiches started.
You get these crazy people reacting to each other, and but I mean, it's just silly, right?
It is. It is, but I do want to say we have caught Google Earth changing images before. So like I get the thought, like with the thought process behind that. Obviously, this is the really good goof, but like we have caught Google Earth, altering, and NASA, for example, altering images of whether it's Mars or Antarctica or whatever. So like the precedent's there, but
right.
And you can't just that's the thing about conspiracy is a lot of people go full hog. Everything they hear, every conspiracy they hear is automatically true to them. Instead of actually taking the time, doing some research and coming to conclusions on your own, you're a repeating machine. You just repeat whatever you hear.
And then also, if you actually go to Google Maps and if there's actually something there, you don't see a picture pop up. You can actually zoom into
you can pop up a picture by adding it. But that's not the real thing.
But that's hilarious that someone added that. Really
By the way, Nick and I actually back like a year or 2 years ago, we actually located a UFO on snow on Google Map. That was like an actual recorded by the Google camera, not like a photo. It was a real thing, and then it disappeared. From Google Map. But Nick and I actually did that by we went there by coordinates. I actually found that, and then Nick and I actually went through this whole thing. I have to find the coordinates again, or at least the video. But we didn't watch the whole video. We actually went to the location and saw the UFO was there. So Google has recorded some UFOs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then they scrub them once it's
Yeah,
reported.
it's like you can specifically see from a specific angle because the camera is motion recording. So in only a specific screen angle you can see it, and then when you move, it's disappeared.
Even their cars, the ones that they go on the road and take images while they're on the road. Some of those had UFOs in them.
Yes.
Okay, guys, and now I want to present to you. I want to present to you the guy you just saw talk about.
Oh,
this is great.
Okay.
And if you are okay with it, I'm gonna read this whole thing because it is hilarious.
It's very good.
Okay, here we go. Styled David Wynn Miller, but we'll come to that. Was an American pseudo-legal theorist, self-proclaimed judge and leader of a tax protester group with the Sovereign Citizen Movement. Originally a tool and die welder, Miller is best known as the creator of quantum grammar, a version of the English language to be used by people involved in judicial proceedings. He asserted that this constructed language, which is purportedly based on mathematics and includes unorthodox grammar, spelling, punctuation, and syntax, constitutes the only correct form of communication in legal processes. People seeking remedy with Miller's syntax in court have not been met with much success. This language is incomprehensible to most people, and the proceedings that use it are routinely rejected by courts. But it gets much, much more funny because this is like Monty Python. Miller lived in Ohio before moving to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He claimed that at the age of 25, he died for half an hour when an inept surgeon removed both his kidneys and adrenal glands. So his heart restarted spontaneously while outside his body during autopsy. Following this, he said his IQ became 200. His endorphin levels were 6 times normal, and he stopped aging. Miller's activism stemmed from his own frustrating experience with the legal system. During the 1980s, he went through a divorce proceeding and appeared pro se in numerous child custody hearings, 67 in total, losing every single time. Having become convinced that the judiciary was rigged, which is probably true, and governed by linguistic maneuvering, and that the English language has been deliberately modified to enslave the people, he decided to override the system by developing his own theory of language to be used as a form of legalese. But it gets more funny. Miller claimed to have created his language in 1988 by discovering the mathematical interface in the truth that certifies all 5,000 languages, forwards and backwards. According to Miller, the use of his language guaranteed success in court cases, and it could also be used to eliminate taxes and disbar judges.
Wow.
In years, he promoted it through various seminars, books, and videos. I'm going to spare you the constructed language part.
All right, let's see how the language is constructed.
I feel like you're reading the Wikipedia page of the next president of the United States.
It wouldn't surprise me, man. It would not surprise me.
Okay. Miller's design involves sentences that begin with prepositional phrases using the word for. It is easily recognizable, among other traits, by the constant and repetitive use of the phrases for the and with the, and by the absence of action verbs, except in gerund form. Users of the dialect reject the use of adjectives, adverbs, and pronouns. The language also has an abundance of punctuations. I'm going to spare you that one. Miller's idea about language are notably rooted in the idea that only nouns have legal meaning, and that their meanings are static and absolute. This had led Miller to arbitrarily recast words, definitions, and roles according to his own understanding and convenience. Among the idiosyncratic rules of the language he created, sentences must contain at least 13 words and use more nouns than verbs. Sentences used in court filings must start with the prepositional phrases. A prepositional is needed to certify a noun, and the word starts with a vowel followed by two consonants means no contract and will therefore void any document.
Hell yes.
Just throw no contract in there.
Yeah. Although the language he pioneered is incomprehensible to most people, Miller asserted that it can end all forms of misunderstanding and conflict, and called mainstream English language a fiction. Miller has also described as leading a linguistic cult.
Wow, the courts must have really done damage to this guy.
But it gets even more funny. After creating his language, Miller began styling his name as David Wynn Miller, claiming that the punctuation marks are hieroglyphs that make him live, and that without them, his name is two adjectives and a pronoun. He verbally sets his name David-Wynn full column Miller. That's how he pronounces it.
Wow. Oh my God.
In a variation of the strawman theory, Miller claimed that the addition of hyphens and colons to a person's name make the person a prepositional phrase. The person is thus identified as a fact, existing in the now-time dimension. The names as written in this way are distinguished from the names listed at birth and in all caps.
In all caps, okay. Yeah.
Which identify the legal estate and not the living being in fact. Signing up to get a birth certificate allegedly creates a taxable person, corporation, David Wynn Miller, as opposed to David-Wynn Colin Miller. Therefore, Miller asserted that by adding punctuation to their names and by using his language in their tax return forms, people could avoid paying taxes.
Don't try.
That sounds right.
No judge has ever accepted this argument, and in fact, many individuals who have attempted to use it have ended up in jail.
Yeah, don't try it, people.
Canadian Judge John D. Rook, who compiled various examples of pseudo-law in his 2012 Meads versus Meads decision, commented that Miller's bizarre form of legal grammar is not merely incomprehensible in Canada, but equally so in any other jurisdiction, and that reading documents when written in Miller's language may give the impression that their author is suffering from mental or cognitive disturbance.
Ouch.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Is he still alive? Is he still alive? Or is he?
I think he is. But then, sort of, so this is of course totally ridiculous. I think that's pretty obvious.
Or is it so ridiculous that it's true?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe there is some truth in. I mean, they weaponized the English language. He said, right? So he's trying to fight back.
Yeah. Yeah, you got this. Donald Netolitsky, written for the Alberta Law Review, commented that documents written in Miller-Rees are a challenge to interpret, and that video recordings of Miller's seminars are defy both description and credulity. David Peterson, a language creator, observed that Miller's ideas demonstrate confusion about the nature of language in general and of English language in particular, notably because there's no such thing as context-independent meaning in life or in language. But then, he also had other views, right? So Miller has used and may have originated a scheme found in organized pseudo-legal commercial arguments that cited the Universal Postal Union as a supranational authority. The argument is that affixing a stamp to a piece of paper changes the authority under which it is governed. He assumed the personal title of postmaster and called his followers, the adherents of his cult, the Universal Postal System. Miller, this one is also funny. Miller claimed that he had 1 billion followers.
Wow.
Good for him.
And that Bill Clinton and the entire Supreme Court of the United States were his students.
Oh my God.
Wow.
He also claimed this one is he also claimed to have turned Hawaii into a verb, thus becoming the king of Hawaii. Like many sovereign citizens, Miller asserted that the world is secretly governed by maritime law, which is, there's some truth to that. His own explanation for the situation was that the Earth is a vessel in a sea of space. That's
all right.
Besides his pseudo-legal IDs, Miller was a proponent of the 2012 phenomenon and also adhered to a wide variety of conspiracy theories, some related to 9/11. He claimed that MasterCard gained control of the US economy on September 17, 1999, and that the steel beams and all the plastic items in the World Trade Center buildings were plastic explosives, which created an electromagnetic pulse as a cover-up for a 12 trillion electronic heist committed during 9/11. Goed, let's see. But my point with this story, besides that it's very funny,
well, and you answered the question: who is this dude? Now we know.
But there's also truth mixed into the absurdity, right? And then people can say, yeah, that's nonsense because Miller believes this nonsense, and you don't want to be associated with somebody like Miller, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there must be something in Greenland that we want other than the location,
Yeah.
Okay. No one wants it except Trump. Trump is just insane guy. That's all it is.
Someone around him is telling him, though, right?
No, he had these kind of things before he became a president, right? He always wanted these kind of things. So now he's a president, he have authority, so everybody's going with that. Nobody was telling him to do that. It's just him. Trump is an insane person. He should be impeached.
They asked him the other day, they're like, so what would stop you doing what you want? He goes, only I can stop myself. Only me. My thoughts.
Yeah, his boss,
BB. Aha. There's a lot of truth in there. Or at least Miriam Adelson, which
but actually it's BB. That's who hold the cards right now.
Whenever he visits.
I'm actually, I'm going to contend for the $1 million because you can actually win $1 million for the best article on X. Elon Musk
really?
Yeah, on my birthday, he put out this what you call it? Competition for the best article on X, and you have to participate and drop your article before January 30th, and then the best article wins.
Like the topic? Any topic?
Any topic.
Huh. Okay. Best of luck. You're competing against a lot of big writers then.
I know, but
I think if there is a voting, I'm voting for you.
It's worth a try.
Definitely.
Yeah, just so I had this thing lying on the shelf for months, and I sort of did a lot of research, but I thought it was too ridiculous and too outlandish, and then Trump did the stuff that I predicted, and now this competition happens, so I'm gonna write the article that I sort of have half written, and I'm gonna do the competition, and it sort of ties into all this stuff that we talked about today. So I'm not going to give it away yet.
Yeah.
I'm first going to finish it, and then you guys will be the first to read it. And,
nice.
And actually, if we will read it,
yeah, but publish it before you discuss it publicly, because maybe somebody is listening and then they copy it. So publish it.
Nothing said in this discussion even comes close to the stuff that I write in there. So, but anyway, yeah. So if you want to win $1 million, start writing, guys.
I'm glad that he's encouraging that, though. It's nice. People need to get back into writing.
Yeah. It's gonna go to some chosen one, so
probably God. God Sad will probably win. Why does Musk retweet that moron? It's just insane.
Yeah.
Well, we know the answer to that, actually.
So I got a lot of stuff, but I think we're running out of time to cover all of it. So what do you guys want? Do you want to take a stab at it, or do you want to say we'll save it for next time, or what are we going to do?
You really? I mean, I'm open for the next 30 minutes, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So up to you.
Okay.
Guys.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
So I've done a little bit of this detective work, and this has to do with the stuff that with Gary Nolan and
Eric Davis.
Yeah, no, sort of like the psychic elements of the UFO.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
It has to do with Gary Nolan, and he makes the claim that the basal ganglia is very important for psionics, and it plays an important role for UFO experiencers or people who have been contacted with UFOs. So I'm going to play a little clip to give people an idea of what he is saying. This is from Lex Fridman.
At the brains of these individuals, we noticed something right in the center of the basal ganglia in many of these individuals that at first we thought was damage. It was basically an enriched patch of MRI dense neurons that we thought was damage, but then it was showing up in everybody, and then we looked and we said, oh, it's actually not. The other readings on these MRIs show that actually that's living tissue. That's actually the head of the caudate and the putamen. And at the time, and I remember even asking a good friend of mine at Stanford, who is a psychiatrist, what does the basal ganglia do? He said, oh, the basal ganglia is just about movement and nerve and motor control. And I said, well, that's odd because, these other papers that we were reading at the time started to suggest that it was involved with higher intelligence and is actually downstream of the executive function and involved with intuition and planning. And then if you think about it, if you're going to have motor control, which is centralized in one place, motor control requires knowledge of the environment. You don't want to move something and hit the table. Or if you're walking across a room, you want to be aware and cognizant of what you might bump into. So obviously, all of that planning requires access to all the senses. It requires access to your desires and memory, knowledge of where and what you want, and desire to walk near or by. Like I use the example of you're at a party, you want to avoid that person, you like that person, the waiter's about to drop something. All without thinking, you maneuver. So that actually, all that planning is done in the basal ganglia. And it's actually now called the brain within the brain. It's a goal processing system subservient to executive function. So what we think we found there was not something which allows people to talk to UFOs. I mean, I think the UFO community took it a step too far. What I think we found was a form of higher functioning and processing. So what we then looked at, and this was the most fascinating part of it, we looked then at individuals in the families of those, let's say the index case individuals, and we found that it was actually in families. And more so, this is the most fascinating part, we've probably looked now at about 200 just random cases that you can download off of databases online. You don't see this higher connectivity. You only find it in what Kit Green would have called, or has called, higher functioning individuals, people who are, he called them savants. I don't have the means to,
So anyway, so that's sort of to give people the idea of, what they found. The basal ganglia is like very dense and very connected in these individuals. It's sort of also what Jake Barber was talking about when he was sort of mentioning psionics.
Interesting. So, but that's in the reptilian part of the brain, right? The small one.
Yeah.
That's why you said a brain within a brain.
Yeah, it's sort of what they used to call the more primitive side of the brain. Yeah,
right.
Sort of reptilian part. But so I did some digging because I'm not sure if you guys are aware, have you done sort of like a deep dive in the telepathy tapes?
I listened to them. There was a new article that came out. I don't know if you saw it. That was, I think it was some insider. She blew the whistle on it, and she was saying that was some op going on. It's a long article though, so I quickly read it. I didn't go deep into it. But yeah, I mean, those are interesting, the telepathy tapes.
Yeah, so there's a connection there, and there's also a connection with Jay Anderson's work with acoustics. But I'm gonna take it one step at a time. So first of all, this is the guy who did the ESG or the EE. What's it called? Sorry.
Yeah, EEG. Yeah,
EEG. Yes.
Yeah.
Tongue twister. So of 3 of the kids who were involved with the telepathy tapes.
And you just see a tiny little clip, and maybe there's something in the clip that looks like, oh, I don't know, something might be going on there. But when you're in the room and you see this happening all day long, under lots of different circumstances and lots of different tests, and they pretty much don't miss, which is the crazy part, right? Because, most of the telepathy research that's been done prior to this point is, with neurotypical individuals, and, it's a forced choice kind of a setup where the sender sees an image or something, and then the receiver has 4 choices of images. And it's like, well, which one do you think it was, right? So you got a 25% chance of guessing right. And in that research, it's like, it generally comes out at like 30% or something, which is statistically significant. And it's interesting. So it's like, okay, people can do better than chance. But then when you're seeing people do this in an open response format, it's not forced choice. It's like, what's the word? What word am I looking at? And it's like, holy crap. Yeah. And like when I was doing the testing on the computer, like one of the words was manager. So we were doing like 3-syllable words, and, Houston was just boop, 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 just spell it out, no problem. Doing full sentences out of a book, that his mom was looking at. And so like open response like that, like just not missing anything, that's a whole different deal, right? Because it's like, clearly they're just completely tapped in.
Yeah, we were recently on another call with Russell Targ, the physicist, who's done a lot of work with remote viewing, even, involved in a little bit with the CIA and other things. And the way that I see that, and he's a big proponent of remote viewing, but also that's like kind of open for interpretation. It's like you're drawing a picture of some remote site, and, it's kind of close and it's close enough. But with this is just so accurate that it's just, I think that's why the podcast is having such a big impact. It's like, wow, if this is true, and it's with this special neurodivergent population that might have something unique about their brains. Like, what does that mean about what our brains are capable of? What does that mean about the physics of the universe? There's so many implications.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I think everybody has been surprised at the amount of attention that this has got, but I take that as a good sign, right? That like people are really hungry for this kind of understanding, right? That maybe there is.
Anyway, I'll cut it off there. But anyway, so he did the brain imaging like in real time, right? Because you MRI and you had EEG, and he sort of did the EEGs of 3 of these kids, and then especially the high function. Now, so basically these are all savants, all high functioning, autistic children who have a verbal impairment. So basically that's sort of the crossover with Gary Nolan's work, where he's also talking about high functioning people. And remember what Jake Barber said, the 3 targeted, basically 4 target groups that they are interested in are children, first and foremost, because they are, apparently they have the best psionic abilities. Secondly, women. And then thirdly, left-handed gay men. And then as a subgroup or sort of collective subgroup, you could say everybody who's not from a developing world or from a developed world. So sort of developing worlds, that those people are more interesting and have more, abilities when it comes to psionics and psi power. And so when you sort of go into this, and that's very interesting. Wait, I'm gonna put on my glasses.
Yeah, where is Skywatcher these days? They were supposed to prove aliens were real.
Yeah, I think they got the dog whistle. They had to blow.
The feds got to them.
Yeah, and wait, the Matthew Pines is also gone from X, if you noticed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So anyway,
now even and Topher sent me something from Bigelow as well about because he's studying consciousness now.
Yeah, and remember that Bigelow was shut down, or Bigelow Aerospace Space Studies, his main company, was shut down during COVID.
Yeah,
right. So that I find that also very interesting, because of all the aerospace companies out there, Bigelow Aerospace was the most interested in all of this stuff and the most open about it. And he was friends with Harry Reid, and Harry Reid was the one who actually, did all the OSAP and the ATIP stuff, and who sort of connected with Christopher Mellon, and this whole movement is sort of has close ties and Skinwalker Ranch with all the stuff that it starts with Bigelow. Right?
It does, yeah. And he's the one who's been trying to get the information out of the government.
Yeah, so I found it very interesting that he was sort of targeted. It feels like he might have been targeted with. I'm not saying he was, but I don't know. Maybe he was just running his business inefficiently or whatever. But anyway, so so it's a National Institute for Discovery Science. NITS does a lot of research in this area. But when you sort of connect the work from Gary Nolan and the basal ganglia, and you put it together with the research from these the telepathy tapes and the EEG scans, then you sort of get this. So the podcast reinforces and extends this by focusing on the same. Okay, wait, I can skip that. Torrent Terrace EEG analysis of 3 nonverbal autistic participants during telepathic task. While it doesn't explicitly mentions the basal ganglia, the findings emphasize right frontal and parietal lobe activity. So right frontal, parietal lobe activity, the same region as Jay Anderson. Regions that interconnect with the basal ganglia in networks for decision-making, attention, and sensory integration. This suggests a complementary view. Nolan's structural enhancements, MRI visible density, could underlie the functional changes EEG detected waves seen in telepathic states, potentially explaining why certain neurodivergent individuals excel in anomalous cognition. Let's skip that one. So the theta waves increases. All subjects show elevated theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz, especially around 7 to 8 hertz. In the right lobe during telepathy. Yeah, this frequency matches the Schumann resonance, Earth's electromagnetic field at 7.83 hertz, speculatively linking human brains to environmental or global fields for environmental access. Right hemisphere dominance. Houston had decreased beta waves, which are fast analytical activity, and theta-based boost only in the right hemisphere. Mia showed frontal theta increases and right parietal delta theta during non-telepathic but tasks. John Paul's patterns varied but involved similar right-sided shifts, and then implications for intuition and creativity. Theta waves are associated with relaxed, intuitive states, meditation, or creative flow, aligning with Nolan's descriptions of the basal ganglia as facilitating gut-level insights. The podcast posits that neurodivergent brains lack typical filters or linguistic barriers, allowing uninhibited access to subconscious or external data, echoing Nolan's idea of the region enabling leaps in uncertain environments. For creativity, this could mean bypassing verbal constraints for direct, innovative perception, as seen in the children's open-ended responses.
Yeah, so I mean, the Monroe Institute knows a lot about these frequencies, right, and how it puts us into different states, and they use binaural beats to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. But it, so I'll skip this, and then I linked it to the work of Ian McGilchrist, and then especially what he says about singing and birds. So because that book is magnificent. There's a compelling potential tie-in between Ian McGilchrist's theories of brain hemispheric differences, particularly the right hemisphere's role in holistic, intuitive, and musical processing, and the discussions we've had on Gary Nolan's basal ganglia and the telepathy tapes EEG data, the right hemispheric theta waves during telepathic tasks, and broader themes of intuition, creativity, and open-mindedness, and anomalous cognition in neurodivergent of UFO-attuned individuals. McGilchrist works, especially in the book The Master and His Emissaries and lectures on brain, etc. Well, we can skip that, I think. Okay. McGilchrist argues that the brain's hemispheres aren't just divided by function, left for language, right for visuals, a common misunderstanding. But how they attend to the world. The left hemisphere focuses narrowly, analytically, and manipulatively, breaking things apart, grasping tools, or using literal language. While the right hemisphere attends broadly, holistically, and contextually, integrating wholes, detecting novelty, and processing metaphors, emotions, and social cues. The asymmetry evolved for survival, the left for targeted actions like foraging, the right for vigilant awareness of threats or the bigger picture. So if you guys don't mind, I want to continue reading, but I also don't want to,
wasn't there something with bird speech that came out that people were saying that we're going to understand them in a few years because they're using machine learning? Did you see that post?
They are actually deciphering more and more animal sounds.
Right.
It started with mice, laboratory mice. There are some really nice videos on that. And then they also decoded whale singing. And I think the Chinese guy is also able to decode birds singing, like that they have grammar and syntax and actual words. So coming back to Ian McGilchrist, the right hemisphere excels at intuition, implicit gut understanding from incomplete data, creativity, connecting disparate ideas in a novel way, and open-mindedness, embracing ambiguity, paradox, and new experiences without rigid categorization. McGilchrist describes the right as the master that sees the gestalt, while the left is the emissary that focuses on details but can dominate pathologically in modern culture, leading to overly mechanistic, reductionistic, and materialistic thinking. This right hemisphere bias fosters openness to the unknown, qualities we've linked to UFO experiences, Nolan's lighthouses, and non-speaking autistic in the telepathy tapes. And now was sort of my I think it was super cool. But anyway, I sort of added the singing of the birds. So evolutionary communication, from singing to speech. McGilchrist posits that in our evolutionary past, likely what you meant by, I misspelled it, proto-humans communicated more through right hemispheric modes like music, prosody, tone, rhythm, and gesture before developing left hemisphere articulated speech around 70,000 years ago. He suggests that early hominids used a musical language or musi language, a proto-musical system singing or melodic calls similar to birdsong for social bonding, entrainment, synchronizing with others, and referring to absent things, distant threats or ideas. This wasn't full language, but a holistic embodied form that conveyed emotion and context without words. The birds analogy, he frequently uses birds to illustrate hemispheric evolution. Birds exhibit strong laterality with the right hemisphere or the left eye for broad vigilance, spotting predators and such, and social recognition, kin, while the left handles focused tasks like packing seeds, the foraging that we mentioned. Proto-humans, like birds, may have relied on melodic vocalization for similar survival groups, group coordination without precise words. And now it comes. The larynx connection, you're spot on here. McGilchrist ties this to the larynx evolution descent. In apes and early proto-humans, the larynx, in your throat, was higher in the throat, limiting articulated speech, but facilitating resonant calls, songs, or bird-like melodies for emotional signaling. As it descended, unique to humans, it enabled for more complex phonemes for speech, shifting dominance toward the left hemisphere over time and to grammatical referential language. However, this musical language remnants persist in the right hemisphere, handling prosody, music, and non-literal communication, explaining why songs and tones convey words. Well, anyway, so I found that super cool.
Very cool.
Because that also actually ties into the whole thing that we talked about with Jay Anderson and his focus on acoustics, resonance, and how these chambers amplify resonance and and wavelengths, and also what Tesla is talking about with reverberation, resonance, energy. And I got this super cool clip. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
So these are actually two clips, but this from the Primordial Code. So this is about the Bosnian Pyramid.
So Goran, you did the measurements of the electrical energy beam on top of the Bosnian Pyramids, right?
That was 2011 when I came in Visoko and do my measurings and find a very, very strong electric field without magnetic component on the top of the pyramid of 28 kilohertz.
But our regular energy system is based on electromagnetic energy, right? So could you first of all define electromagnetic energy compared to the energy you measured at the Bosnian Pyramids?
We have two waves, electric and magnetic waves, and propagate in a fourth direction. That's a classical electromagnetic wave which has both electric and magnetic fields. But if I find only vibrations of electric field without magnetic component, or vice versa, I can speak about scalar waves. When I find the Tesla verse where he said that he does not use Hertzian waves, that mean electromagnetic waves which we use for communication, for radio, TV, mobile, etc., etc. So that was very interesting for me because main frequency of his most famous object which he made is Wardenclyffe Tower, and the operational frequency of his world station was exactly 28 kilohertz. So when we calculate and compare everything of that, what we got was one very interesting form of distribution of energy strength, of voltage amplitude in different points. There we can be absolutely sure that it exists.
So this was actually not the right one. Sorry about that, but it is super interesting anyway. But the point is, of course, that what we talked about in our last show. I think it was with on your podcast.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned at some point that we might be using energy or devices which are actually harmful to us and to the UFOs that are visiting us, right? And these are sort of the electromagnetic energy, the Hertzian waves that we use. Well, in the past, these previous civilizations and their remnants, if they still survive, might have just used vibration, like the Nikola Tesla version, like non-Hertzian waves, like of pure vibration, which link to scalar weapons and scalar energy.
Yeah.
But go on.
I mean, Tesla does say that he understood how the Great Pyramid worked, right? So he did hint that it was some kind of energy device or a communication device. So just like what this guy was saying in the video. And that tower as well that he did, was based on the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
So I think just older civilizations used technology in a more harmonious way. We obviously have not done that. We have weaponized it, and we extract instead of vibrate with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so when you sort of maybe I was was a lot of information, of course, but what I was actually trying to say with the whole Gary Nolan telepathy tapes, and then Ian McGilchrist thing is, when you look at that, so what Ian McGilchrist gives us is a sort of evolution where humanity probably used to sing to each other instead of talk to each other. Like singing was probably the way we first started to communicate. That's why our larynx, that can you see at the evolution of our larynx in our throat. And singing, of course, has to do with resonance, but it also has to do with the right brain, so the right frontal brain and its connection to the basal ganglia. So what it tells us is that, and with intuition, creativity, and open-mindedness, and these children from telepathy tapes are: one, they are children; two, they are savants, like the people that Jake Barber interacted with, but that also that Gary Nolan researched, and they had trouble expressing themselves. And so if people have a latent evolutionary ability to use psionic powers or psi powers, like remote viewing, and remote viewing could also, there's also connections with communication and summoning and even controlling of UFOs. Then these children who want to communicate but can't communicate find other means to communicate, especially
that's what the brain does. Like people who are blind or deaf, their brain just has, I guess, other superpowers. So this is something similar. Exactly. They can't communicate. They don't really use words as a filter. So their right brain or right hemisphere is more active, and it's using other solutions to communicate.
Yeah, so it's using these latent abilities, which are, and basically, so we see that the evidence actually lines up very nicely between the research of Jay Anderson, Ian McGilchrist, Gary Nolan, and the telepathy tapes and the EEG scans from those telepathy tapes. So it's all lining up very nicely. And then I also want to play this clip from this movie, from the Primordial Code.
The Earth is always vibrating. You have, for example, Earth tides that makes that the Earth vibrates, goes up of 30 centimeters and down 30 centimeters in a day, okay? And so that makes that everything that is on Earth is vibrating. It's the menhir of Pergat. This point here is a violet point. You feel the energy going up against. Here it is. Here. You're going to feel that the energy goes up like that. This is a water that goes like that, runs like that.
Here's water going underneath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes this an energetic.
Yes. It's it's a crossing of water in the middle, okay? And so when you have the crossing of water, you have a vortex of energy, okay? This vortex of energy, there is a difference of potential, electromagnetic difference of potential, okay? That makes that the vortex, makes the energy, the electricity goes up and down like that, okay? And so this stone is a granite. It's like with mica and quartz, etc., feldspat, for example. You have a kind of little batteries inside, and so they charge with electricity of the water.
It's like a vortex.
Okay, and makes a vortex, okay? And with two charge, it expels the energy up. And it's stabilizing the place, okay? The energy of the place, so all the rings are expanding all the time, because you remember the Earth is doing this and this and this and this, okay? And the energy of the water, so it's working like an antenna. So it's making his rings, emitting his stuff, okay? And healing the place.
Yeah, so, I was going to say, like, it was just, that technology is more harmonious with the Earth and with nature,
Yeah. And it all has to do with vibration, with song, with resonance, with using the natural powers, and it sort of ties into our past, right? Because from evolution, it shows us that we used to, even from an evolutionary perspective, were likely to have a more harmonious interaction. I mean, like the singing, like for example, with singing these days, like first of all, nobody sings these days anymore. But secondly, if somebody sings, it's some kind of celebrity on TV who's singing.
Right.
And then they're usually singing by themselves. They're not singing in groups. And it's also mediated by electronic devices. And then if you, for example, look at the work of Theodor Adorno and his early work on the let's say the cultural industry. He says, when you look at music in the past, they had very complex melodies and rhythms, and you see over time that the complexity in the melody and in the song, it becomes simpler and simpler. It becomes more and more focused only on rhythm and less on melody. So melody becomes less and less important over time, and he points out a lot of other things, but music is becoming more mechanical.
Right, and they also changed the tuning. We used to tune to 432 hertz, I think, in the past, and then in 1920 they came together and they said, no, we're going to tune to 440 hertz. 432 is in vibration with nature. 440 isn't. So it's weird. It's not strange that they made that. They did it on purpose. They wanted to, I guess, take us away from nature.
We're resonating with the machine, and that makes us controllable, and it makes us less aware of our true potential, right? Because I still think that they actually fear us and want to use us by controlling us.
Agreed.
So, and I do agree with Sid. I mean, that's recurring theme on our podcast, that they want to create less people. But they don't want to eliminate everybody, but they want less people. Right?
They do, for sure. People. Yeah. They've been saying that forever, right? And they just won't stop. Just depopulate.
Hell, look at the guide stones, the ones that were recently bombed and destroyed in the U.S. I think it said keep the global population under 200 million or something.
500 million. 500 million. Yeah.
500 million. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Half a billion. Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah. But so guys, go on.
Gonna collapse. You can say that's happening anyway. Even is collapsing, but they committed and gonna do war to reach their goal.
Mm-hmm. We're having a population collapse, right? People are not having babies as much. So
the system's designed that way. Can't afford to have kids.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And testosterone is down, and people can't have babies unless it's IVF. So they're going to start controlling that now too. Imagine if they have control who gets born.
Oh boy, what a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Or who can have children.
And also, with psionics, right? You also see it with animals. Psi abilities are often better developed than those of humans, right? I mean, Rupert Sheldrake did a lot of research in that regard, with cats and dogs being able to sense when their owners come home, or find their way home into in unknown territory. And there's a lot of stories. I actually have personal stories, but my sister has stories. Friends of mine, basically everybody I know who has pets, have stories about their pets being able to do stuff that shouldn't be possible.
Right. Yeah. Right. Especially dogs. I mean, they know where you're going to be probably before you know where you're going to be.
Yeah. For example, my sister, she lives on like the 10th floor in an apartment building. And they have two cats, and one of the cats, when she's at home, the cat is lying with her, but when her husband returns, the cat always goes to the door like 5 minutes before he enters, and it's impossible from the 10th floor to either hear or smell somebody coming home at irregular times, right? It was not like that there was like he had like sort of about that he was coming home, but she didn't know when he was coming home, and there was no pattern to it, right? So Yeah, that shouldn't be possible. That's impossible from materialistic reductionist scientific terms, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the truth is we're all connected. Everything's connected, right?
Yeah.
Even you can take it back to the electric universe as well, and that's what they say. Everything's connected across the entire multiverse or universe.
Absolutely.
Which is probably why when we explode nukes, these things show up. Because like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope you didn't mind all the reading that I did, but I was very excited about the discoveries.
It was great, man.
Awesome,
Oh yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I should write it in an article probably. Maybe
you gave us a hint. You gave us a hint. I think it's going to be geopolitics, or maybe you'll bring this in as well. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I really want to thank you for being on the show and for discussing your predictions, and I think we got a big likelihood that some of those are gonna come true.
I hope not. Well, maybe the NHI disclosure would be nice, but all the other stuff, it's just we don't get a break. There's always something going on, some emergency, some global catastrophe. It's like, just give us a break.
Yeah, actually, as I was listening to everyone's predictions, I was like, not one of these is positive.
Right.
I was sitting there going like, I should have at least come up with some positive prediction.
Yeah, well, maybe Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, I guess going.
Trump is not getting that prize.
Oh no, he
got one. It was given to him.
Machado, right?
Yeah.
What a dork! I can't believe he accepted that.
I know.
Well, maybe I can make one. At least I think Bitcoin is gonna explode this year.
All right.
With it, crypto. It's not positive news for everybody, especially for those people who are not in it. And some people think it will explode to the downside. So this is not financial advice. Be careful what you do with your money. But I got this feeling that we're going up.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if that central banker advisor, if what she's saying is true, that people will move into crypto if anything is announced, then yeah, it should push it up.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of chaos coming our way.
What are we at BTC today? 95,000. No, it's not. It's still high.
Yeah, so if we close above 100K, then that's extremely positive. But if we get rejected here, then we have to wait.
I think we're gonna get rejected, and it's gonna go to like under 60K.
Really? I'll definitely buy if it goes. Well, I'm buying anyway, but I'll buy at 60 more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can get rejected.
I kidney and buy it. So.
I'll sell both my kidneys and then I'll reawaken and I'll have 200.
Man, that story was so funny. What do you say? He took out 2 kidneys and something else. Oh, hilarious.
Yeah. Dave Miller. Remember that name.
Colin Miller.
Colin Miller.
Nice guy. Well, that was fun, guys. Let's watch our predictions and hold each other accountable.
Yeah,
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and let's do it again in the future, and or on your.
I think by the time we have, one of my prediction will come true, which is Iran war. So let's see.
Yeah.
Man, that's not going to be nice.
Yeah, let's hope not. And,
let's hope not. I just want to be wrong, but I think this is gonna happen.
Yeah, they want it. That's the thing. They won't stop. They are not stopping. So we know it's going to happen, right? It's not if, but when.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 That's amazing. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And looking forward to our next show.
Always fun having our chats, our deep philosophical chats as well. We definitely like going down that route, and glad you guys are back too. That last week's show was good. Hopefully everyone will like this show as well.
Yes, and I'll send it over to you in a bit.
Nice. Yeah, so I'll upload it tomorrow to our podcast.
Cool.
Yeah.
So guys, I wish you a really nice evening, I guess, over there.
Afternoon almost, lunchtime.
Okay, that's a long show. And
Cool.
I'll be heading to bed pretty soon.
Enjoy.
All right. Good night.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.